How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGWProductions.com and YouTube.com, E3 edition with your favorite show hosts, Ara Still.
I can't even enthuse after this week. I'm Fenurian.
And I'm Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week that was. A week where the industry tried to pretend like they were doing something because they felt like it was that time of year. However, it remains to be seen whether or not they actually were doing anything, because I'm pretty sure that most of the games industry spent the past 12 months sitting in their chair at home with their dick in their hand. Like, that's pretty much it. But if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can send us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server. The link should be provided in the description underneath the show archive on YouTube.
Yes, indeed. So as soon as I finish fixing this up, because for some reason that's just being very strange on the capture. There we go. Alrighty. On the stream today, we are playing a much anticipated game. PSO2 New Genesis.
Which is about the only positive thing about it was the level of anticipation.
There was a lot of anticipation.
Yes. Followed by what happens every time the hype train comes to an end.
Yeah.
So, before we get into E3 disappointment, we will have some
New
great
Genesis. So,
disappointment.
let's, I think we'll just start, let's just go over what's positive about this.
Okay.
That's not going to take very long.
No.
So,
I mean, it looks pretty.
Kind of.
So,
Kind of. Dated, but pretty.
But
No.
like, I was expecting it to at least be sort of on par with Black Desert. I mean, how old is that?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
But it's only barely on par with that.
Yeah.
and it makes your system run super hot
So does Black Desert at that point. but
and is unoptimized to all hell.
So
I
just
had
like
to-
Black Desert.
So I had my first experience with the game was the fans on my GPU were blowing really loud, and this game ain't that pretty. So I cranked it open and had to discover that my fan curve on my GPU gets set to a wonky fan curve if you have a VR headset plugged in. So I had to change it back to a normal one, and it still whirs up and regularly hits like approaching 80 degrees on a game that looks like this.
Yeah. I'm going to buy a gun. By the way.
So yeah, we all play PSO2, and Vol's on the last mission of the story, and me and Ferna finished it.
I thought that I was on like probably like as a matter of scale, it felt like about mission 2 of 20.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I thought coming to it as well. It's like, okay, that was nice. That was the prologue. Now, let's get into the game. What do you mean it's over?
Yeah. So unlike, say, Genshin Impact, and as much as I don't like giving kudos to a China game, they did not include the next area you're supposed to go to with the actual quests at all, and nor is the current area big enough to hold any quests outside of what is effectively the tutorial. You get the tutorial and the few combat areas and areas you'll be doing combat in nonstop later, and that's it.
That is indeed it.
So I have a breakdown here. There are 18 main story tasks. Now, if you don't count the battle power grinding to go level up and go get enough swords to cram it, silver and gold swords to cram into your weapon to get it enhanced enough, you have go to Central City and learn about the facilities. This is after the island prologue, which is whatever. You have the unlock the Mount Magnus quest, and to do the quest and see the follow-up cutscene. Or rather, go to Central City, learn about the facilities is 8 missions of these 18. So, most of this number of 18 quests is literally going around and learning what the facilities are. Next, you go to Mount Magnus, your first combat area where you can PSE burst and grind and do some grinding. Okay, you need to be level 5 and you gotta have 830 BP. Okay, to get your BP up, this is your gear score. You have to increase either your level, the enhancement rating of your gear, unlock the potential of your weapon, or affix augments to your weapon.
But basically, as far as I could tell, that's about the only thing that level does.
It does give you base PP and stuff. So
Yeah, but like one.
you
It's
you,
not-
you do less damage to enemies that you're lower level than for some reason too.
But that's
So
just a
if you're-
pacing thing. If you could easily remove that. That's an artificial. It's an artificial thing to keep you in one area.
But it's
Because
yeah, it's,
Heaven forbid you should want more than one area.
yeah. So they tried to hold you back there. And then after you do the Mount Magnus quest and see the follow-up cutscenes, which are 3 missions, you learn about subquests and side quests. This is 1 mission. And then you unlock the Vanford Laboratory runes at 950 BP, so you gotta go grind again. And then you do that quest and see the follow-up cutscenes. This is 3 missions. And then you learn about daily quests and weekly quests. This is 1 mission. And then you unlock Resol Forest and see the single follow-up cutscene, which is 2 missions. That's it.
That is the entirety of the story. And pretty much
That's
the
it.
entirety of the content.
Yeah, unless you feel like just grinding for grind's sake, or doing urgent quests, which there's only 2 in the game right now, and one of them is just a ramped up version of the last fight in the story, and it ain't that ramped up. Not enough to be called an urgent quest.
No, because
If
you
it
fight the
was-
same boss as a PSC burst boss in the forest.
Yeah, I mean he has a few different mechanics, but they're not even noticeable. You have to know they exist by looking them up. You won't even notice them when you're fighting them. And he's also buggy right now,
course
and
he
that
is.
sometimes he just won't break, and that means his weak point's never exposed because he's only exposes his weak point in a downed or weakened state.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he'll just bug out. So you'll be in a time-limited urgent quest with no way to get the boss's weak point to spawn.
So that's just fun.
Yeah, that's fun. And
Here we
then
go. Here's another positive thing. The region mags.
Well, they're cute, but I don't care, and I hate having to go to them. I think they're
Exactly.
strictly
They're
negative.
cute. That's the beginning and the end of the good point.
Well,
yeah,
I hate that they exist. I wish they didn't. Because they're just another annoying piece of crap I've got to wander out to every day.
They have gotten me killed in the past as well.
Yeah, you can still be attacked while feeding the region
But,
mag.
my point of view on this game is that there is basically nothing good to say about it. Like, I spent my entire time playing, wishing I was playing Monster Hunter, and thinking that I'd be having more fun playing classic PSO2. Unlike Ari, I haven't done everything in it, and frankly, I don't think most people have done everything in PSO2 because there's an obscene amount of stuff to do, and all of it is better than what's in New Genesis.
Yeah, New Genesis is
Categorically.
like, here's the basic framework for what we want to do. That's it.
Yeah. So
Even that I feel is a
The-
little bit on the generous side.
Yeah.
I'll save the bugs and launch week and ongoing launch week garbage for last. They fixed some of it, but not enough of it.
Yeah.
But we'll do that at the end.
Have you
So-
logged into classic PSO2, by the way?
Yeah, it's
There's like 8
it's
times
having-
as many people playing it.
Yeah.
Well, they cut it down to 3 blocks as well. But yeah, I was surprised that there were that many, even with it cut down to 3 blocks.
I'm surprised
Well,
they cut it down so far.
When I log on to New Genesis, I'm lucky if I see about 6 other people during like an hour's play, and that's including time spent in the city.
Yeah, because everybody's in the stupid. They only log on to do urgent quests or go into the combat grind zones.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Nothing.
Nothing. And they're also doing the hard versions of the combat grind zones you've got through. So the player base will eventually decrease in those zones to such a point that the low level combat grind zones will have nobody in them.
Mm-hmm. There'll be you and maybe someone else if you're lucky.
So yeah, it's a right pain in the butt there.
It's just bad.
They've done everything wrong. Like there's nothing that they've done right.
I have a bunch of bigger shoes with the game. We'll start with the design choices with the world. First, open world, I'm not sure works with this style of gameplay.
As
And
far as I'm
what-
concerned, it makes it not PSO2.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the mission structure. Generally, I like open world games more, but they just don't know how to do it.
I like the
I don't-
mission structure more. Like, I'll just come out and say it. As a matter of preference, I like it more. But on top of that, that focus is just better suited for this game type, for the way they do things.
And there just isn't a reason to go explore the world aside from getting all the red chests, which are
Yeah.
once per account.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to having PSO be open world, but you've got to build the game around it. And
Even with the limited area we got, most of it isn't used.
no, there's a whole lot of just dead space.
I mean, the urgent quests that pop up in some zone, or the target, whatever the T quests are just there to get augments, and the baby augments at that.
Well, the thing is I'm against PSO2 being open world for the simple reason that their entire reason to make it open world was for it to be open world.
Yeah,
Like, it was just a self-justifying target. Like, oh well, we want it to be open world because if it's open world, then that'll mean it's open world. There's not because it would gain anything from being open world, or that it would benefit the way the gameplay loop works, or that it was what people really wanted to do, which, you know, stands in stark contradiction to the fact that they spent years and years playing PSO2, which wasn't open world. Like, there is literally no driving force behind the decision to make it open world other than other people do it.
yeah. It's
Which
open
is
world for the sake of
anybody-
open world.
As anybody who has decent parents knows, because other people do something is not a good enough reason to do it. Like, every child gets taught this lesson by their parents.
Unless those people are, well,
Yeah, that's bad
That's-
parents.
But that's the only reason I can think of for it, because it doesn't benefit from it. It just means that you've got to fill more empty space with stuff. And the
Which
stuff that has been used to fill it is health pots. Predominantly health pots.
Primarily
materials.
hotspots.
materials, which is what I really want to talk about with the
No.
freaking open world.
Well, materials once every 36 hours or so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's materials there, but yeah.
So the respawn rate on materials is so awful that if you want to craft the best augment in the game, it will take you about 87 years.
Yes.
If you clear out the materials every single time they respawn in foregoing dailies in the process, unless they just happen to line up with your respawn.
Like I posted in the show host's channel, I think that the PSO2 New Genesis Reddit would be better named Salty Lobster memes.
It's a lot of solid
Yeah.
lobsters in there.
The entirety of the Reddit had a fit about the lobsters, and I agree, that was really dumb. Thankfully, I wasn't material farming. I was just kind of booping around with the game at the time.
I've
So I
heard
was
rumors
still-
that they've actually been forcing server resets in order to try and keep the rage temps down.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah,
Incidentally,
They've,
by the way, just as a point of statistics, I guess, I just finished my dailies and weeklies. It took me 15 minutes.
yeah.
20 on the
And,
outside.
yeah, well, you had to go do your
No,
daily
you can go back to circling the forest or whatever.
Jumping on the rooftops in the town.
Yeah, so the respawn rate of materials is really bad to explain what we're talking about. Like, awful. You can go around a relatively small open world and find ore and fruit and seafood and stuff laying around, and you can gather it, right? Okay, PSO2 had a system for this. You would bust out, you get 10 free swings a day, basically, when you went to go do your quests, or when they recharged over time. And you would occasionally be able to gather more if you procced a fever. And that was it.
It was
And that-
weird. It was super weird.
But
I
it
think-
worked.
I don't think it was a good system, but it was also not completely broken.
This one, you run around the world and get the materials, and the materials are on a 24 to 48 hour respawn from the point you gather them.
Yep.
This means one of the daily quests every day is gather X materials. They've cut it down to 5, it was 10. Gather X materials from certain region of what's currently available. So that we have north, south, east, or north, south, west Alio, and a lake that isn't used for anything. And it'll say, go gather materials here. Okay. What if you went through farming monomite yesterday and you have gather ore and you're
I had already been exploring the field on my way into the city. I wandered around for about 15 minutes, right? And oh well, there's some ore. I'll hit it. There's a plant. I'll pick it up. And then I got the mining training quest to get monomite, which took me like 2 days to finish.
Yes. The same thing applies.
Mhm.
It's like,
And
oh,
this
you can't finish the tutorial. And so I ended up with this weird sort of perverse instinct to never pick something up unless I had a quest to do it.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
gets to that point.
And unless you need it for crafting that moment, I don't go out of my way to farm it, and will only do it for dailies. Not that if you're not doing the weapon fusion system, you don't really need it. You need it for unlocking the potentials, but until you've settled on a weapon, because you're going to be changing weapons as you get ones with better affixes anyway.
Yeah.
Or a better. There's only. I'll get into that system
Well,
in a minute. to
that's just
clarify.
PSO2 to some extent. Although
the
they've
amount-
somehow managed to find a way to make it even more twisted.
The amount you need and the respawn rate is just so awful. Like, genuinely awful. You need 50 plus sometimes for a potential unlock. And it is going... That means you gotta find at minimum 20 ore in the world of that type. And not all ore types spawn in every single zone.
Nope.
Well, actually, they all only spawn in one zone, according to the mining dude.
It's not quite true, but it's true enough.
Well, there's...
Well, there's one
the
which
photon
spawns
type.
two different kinds.
Yeah, there's the photon blank type quartz or chunks and whatever, and then there's the monomite, dumite, and trimite.
Yeah.
And
6
each of
resources.
those-
Well, 6 mining
Yeah.
resources.
And they've still made them impossible together.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're going to be in trouble if you need any of that, because you just aren't going to be able to go out and farm it. At the very least, if you've given us nothing to do in this world except go looking for stuff to gather, let us at least gather as much as we want. Or make the respawn something sane, like an hour or two. But no, the one thing you could do in the world that isn't, grind out low-level augments.
So has anybody concluded what the respawn times actually are? Because it feels like server reset at this point.
The best the Reddit was able to conclude was between 24 and 48 hours from point of gather.
Yeah, a lot of people are just calling it 36 for the sake of average at this point.
Yeah, it takes 4.
It appears. I think that I don't like the points-based one in the original PSO2, but I didn't think that they could make the other kind even worse than that.
They managed.
So yeah, we have that problem. And then, what else do we have? We have the combat zones themselves. The combat zones have basically nothing to do in them. This is where you'll spend the majority of your time when you're not in urgent quest if you're actually trying to play the game. And it's just grinding. It's just a Korean MMO. You just start killing stuff,
It's an
running
insult
a
to Korean
circuit.
MMOs, IMO.
I mean, you're running in a circuit, killing the exact same mobs over and over again with, this is a good point to talk about, a relatively unexpressive combat system is the gentlest way I can put it.
You mean a spammy pile of garbage where the
Yeah.
only thing you can do is attack with numbers X and attack with numbers Y?
Like, this would be a good introductory set of photon arts to get you started, to learn what the class is like.
That's
Bro,
what
so-
it
But the fact-
feels like.
The starting moveset in a Muso game is broader than this.
But this is not enough for a full moveset. Not
And
even
it doesn't
close.
ever get any bigger.
There's no customization, really.
Yeah, you
Techniques
can't
have
choose
been
different
trimmed
moves.
and techniques have been trimmed just as bad. There are techniques for fire, ice, and lightning, and there are 2 of them per spell type. And one of them is an AoE, and one of them single target. Now, they do fly differently and target and hit differently, so there is some distinction, but there's still only 6 of them.
It's so painful to think about relative to the sheer number of options supplied to you in the original PSO2. I mean,
Especially,
sure, some of them were bad, but
well, they corrected most of those with the customizable photon arts.
Yeah.
it's just the thing that beggars belief about this is that they've got so much experience. They know how to make the mistakes and how to fix the mistakes because they've done it all before. So how did they screw up this badly?
I think it honestly is just the game ain't done. It needed more time in the oven.
Yeah,
I think
and-
that it was because it was developed during the year when everybody was staying at home with their dick in their hands.
Yeah, and
Yes.
nobody had anybody to supervise them. I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, it feels like it just needed another year to. Sure.
Maybe a year or 2, because this is bare bones. So let's get to some of the wonderful other aspects of the game that are nuts and
Oh, the
don't
bugs?
work right. Well, we can get to those last.
Okay.
But the player shop is no longer available to free-to-play players unless you happen to have a few tickets laying around from PSO2 OG.
I hope you like being in the poor hole, because
Yeah,
premium, I'm here to tell you, is not a great deal.
It's 20 bucks, I believe, for a month for a game that has, 3 days of content.
It's more expensive than every pay-to-play MMO out there, and you get nothing for it. You don't even get the sort of generous try boost to grinding speed that you basically get in PSO2. No, you don't get that. You get a small bonus to the amount of benefits food gives, and
Which is nothing.
access to the actual marketplace. You know,
Yeah.
the baseline functionality of the game.
Which is
I can
essential, by the
on-
way, because if you don't have that, you're going to be broke.
Yeah,
And-
you're going to spend a lot of time in the forest.
Like, when I just, at the start of the show, I got 200,000 for doing the weekly quest. That did not get me very far. That got my new launcher up. Well, that actually got me the rifle, and it got my new launcher up to level 15, I think. And that's only because
Yeah.
I was sitting on a stockpile of gold weapons.
Yeah, so the big issue, there's several issues with this, but the biggest one is this totally screws the economy in general. Even if you do have access to it, I had pre-bought premium. Actually pre-bought it months ago and just left the ticket in my bank.
Oh,
So I popped premium right before this game came out. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it. You get on PSO2 day, you get a 10% rare drop and EXP up. That's it.
yay. Is PSO2 Day
And-
actually in New Genesis yet, properly?
Yeah.
They announced it the other day that it was going to be on the 21st.
It has basically nothing. There's no reason for it to even be here. It's just on PSO2 day and premium day, you get 10% rare drop rate and EXP up.
From PSO2, that everyone got that, if I recall.
So I guess this was a last minute decision because they removed this. They stealthily removed it in Japan and removed it very quickly later, like within a week on the US, when they took out the player shop ticket from the Fun Scratch.
Oh, yeah.
So they just removed it from the Fun Scratch in PSO2, and that was how people got them before. Well, you can't get them that way anymore. They totally removed them, and I'm thinking the reason they did it because they realized nobody's going to buy premium if they have access to the player shop because it does absolutely nothing for you. There are not enough missions to need the expanded mission whatever. There are not enough inventory slots or there's not enough items worth storing to make use of the premium storage in the bank. Like, what's premium going to do for you?
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Although, that's another issue. For some godforsaken reason, somebody decided, okay, so you know the bank in PSO2 and New Genesis? Let's just go ahead and make sure that those are rolled into the exact same bank and not make a new tab for New Genesis only.
I tried to go through my bank and it was just a mess.
Yeah, I just kind of put it in the too hard bucket and probably ignored it.
Yeah, so I think I'll just manage my inventory, thanks.
Yeah,
Not that there's
so
a
what
whole
I
lot to
did,
carry around anyway.
I just moved everything out of default storage into character storage and other storages, and I had access to the premium storage, so I just moved everything, all the outfits, not all the outfits, but all the non-outfits and stuff into that.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to have worked out okay. Because you don't need very many slots. You're not going to hold most of the items. So let's talk about the actual items available now.
Incidentally,
And
I was
that
in the middle of a gigantic lag spike.
No, the boss just ran away because somebody kited him across
Oh
the
no, I
map
didn't
or
go to
something.
the urgent quest.
Oh, you're at the urgent quest?
No, I'm in Resol Forest.
Yeah, so am I.
Oh, okay.
You might be in a different result forest
Oh
than me,
no.
though.
No, we should be together. No, the boss. Oh, the boss is just way over there. Okay.
Yeah, he just, some idiot kited him over here. But anyway. But anyway, he's dead now. What was I going to talk about? You distracted me. Right when I was gonna-
Items.
Oh, items.
Yeah.
So there are not. So your Prim, your Vizia, and your Theseus are your 1, 2, and 3-star items. Items from PSO2 can go up to 3-star. So Theseus is as high as they can go if you use them between games. But that said, there is a level requirement on them, and it's fairly high because those actually come with augments.
Yeah.
The items.
Well,
the-
I mean, in other words, you basically will never ever use them for any reason because you will have gotten. By the time you hit those level requirements, you'll already have gotten something better.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll be moving on to the
Not-
4-star weapons by that point.
Not to mention, while you can't put stuff up for sale on the player shop, you can buy from it, and all 4-star weapons are literally 1,000 gold.
Yeah.
Because
unless
if it ain't
they're
got enough-
Reziger.
Whatever that is. Because if they don't have an affix on them, they're garbage. And furthermore, items can only have. Well, let's talk about how these items operate first. At 4-star is the highest rarity in the game right now. There are 2 categories of 4-star weapons. The type variants that are specific to region. So each region of the 3 combat zones, there's only 3, can drop 4 of the 12 weapons in the game, weapon types in the game. And these will require level 14 and have 2 more base power than the ones that require a level 11 and can drop anywhere. Now, because they have a different prefix on them and a different name, you cannot multi-weapon them with anything other than stuff that also shares that prefix, which makes them almost completely useless.
Yep.
When you're talking about multi-weaponing, which is why nobody uses the system. That and its absurd expense. And the other reason that multi-weapon is a dumb idea. Because after you've already invested in a plus 35 Vitalio rifle like I have, I'm not going to go do that again for a Resurgir one just so I don't have to... Just so I can put the launcher's one useful move on it. It ain't that big of a deal.
Well, the thing is that nothing's really that big of a deal, and as far as their way their itemization works, like there's not enough content for that much of a muchness to make a difference.
Yeah,
And you can't if you have the best version of the best weapon in the game and the worst version of the worst version weapon in the game, the combat is so shallow and spammy, and the bosses so empty of content and like challenge that you basically won't be able to tell the difference between the two. You're only motivated by autism.
Yeah, you don't have to min-max at all. There's no reason for it, which comes to the other point about weapons and armor. Weapons and armor have a chance to drop with one singular of a fixed set of 6 augments up to levels 1 through 5. Mm-hmm. All of which increases it by about 1%. Now, of these that can drop, it can have like plus 5% damage, plus 5% crit damage, plus 5% crit, PP recovery, and I think there's a few PP on attack instead of natural PP recovery, and I think there's one more. But these are the only differentiation between the 4-star weapons that are out right now. And so it's just not worth it. Because 5% potency sells for, like, I sold one today for 700,000 because it's fairly rare. But it was a freaking wand. So, even I don't know why some idiot bought that. Tectors don't use wands, even though it's their main weapon.
Yeah, you gotta use Yu-Gi-Ohs.
No, what you do is you pull out your rifle from your subclass and do that instead.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so
Because-
that you've actually got some ability to attack.
Yeah, the wand is so bad that you literally use whatever your subclass's weapon is instead. But somebody bought a potency plus 5%, which is the best affix you can get for as far as pricing is concerned, at 700,000 like an idiot. I hate to break this to them, but there is a better option, dude. But if you're going to give me free money, I'll take it.
That's a lot of money.
For this game, yes.
Yes.
That's 2.5 weeklies worth of money. So yeah. It's just really bad. There are no other augments that come on weapons. They have fixed augment slots that are empty that increase as you enhance them. And I think plus 20 and plus 40, they get one more slot at 4-star.
Yeah,
up to a maximum of 4. And the way you attach these augments is by getting them to drop in the world. And they'll have your standard plus PP, plus potency, plus whatever. No interesting effects like in PSO2 yet. And and you can insert multiple copies of the same type to increase its success rate. And the higher level the augment you're trying to use is, or the better it is, the more copies you're going to need to get it as close to 100% as possible, because you can only get the weakest, like, might 1s and stuff to get a 100% affix rate. So what you wind up doing is just putting a whole bunch of garbage on your weapon for battle power, and then thinking you'll get around to replacing it eventually, but realistically, by the time you do, you've already moved on to a new weapon.
Yeah, and you're doing it all over again.
Everything to me felt like a kind of a contrivance, though, because the only thing that really makes a difference in battle is your relative level to the mob.
Yeah.
Like everything else is just, oh well, it will take either 2 hits longer to kill the boss, or you'll have to try and not get hit as much or whatever. It was much of a muchness, but they still hard lock what you can do progression wise behind this arbitrary gear score mechanic.
Yeah, and rifles in particular are about the only weapon that I've seen that really benefits from the enhancement mechanic, and genuinely feel like they get a lot from enhancing the weapon and adding augments to it because they fire so many tiny shots.
Yeah, playing around with the
rifle,
the launcher, and I can't honestly not tell you if there's been
no,
or not.
The damage range is so big because they have a new stat called Potency Floor, where the bottom line of your damage is able to be increased. So your lowest hit gets higher that you can do on the RNG roll for whatever damage you're doing on your ability.
Which means very little for a weapon that does big numbers.
Well, what it means is they made the RNG range absolutely huge to start with.
Yes.
So getting more potency or damage doesn't really matter. The only reason you can see it on the rifle is because that range is so small. Like, I have a plus 35 rifle, and I'm shooting for between 25 and 31. Critting for 34.
I think all of this is just minutia. I mean, it's bad design, sure, but relative to the broad, sweeping bad design, I think they've got bigger fish to fry. I mean, look at those skill trees. Look at those skill trees and put them next to PSO2s.
Yeah,
like,
they're the 3 lines, if that.
That's much more fundamental problem. Like, there's no character development. Period.
I totally forgot the skill trees even existed, TBH.
It's because by the time you've put 3 points into them, you've gotten everything that's relevant to the weapon you're currently using.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you put 1 point in all the abilities that have the diminishing returns and grab everything else, you don't need to pay attention to anything else. That's it. That's all you need to do. They had something going with the missions and the cocoons that felt more PSO2-y, where how you get the skill points in the towers.
I didn't like them. I didn't like it because that you should get something else from those, not skill points, because that bolts your skill progression to wandering around an incredibly boring world, and it means that leveling does nothing.
It's also feels like a half measure as well, because you can go through them and you can just breeze from one end to the other, doing the absolute minimum possible to succeed. You'll get your skill points. But if you
there's not even a title for getting it perfect.
No,
there is no reward. This is what ticked me off about them, was there was nothing you could do for doing them well. There was no incentive to go back and 5-star these at all, other than autism or OCD.
Yeah, although I've gone back and done a few of them just so it's another thing I can say I've done.
I did one of them to 5-star, and then I said, "Oh, so that didn't get me anything? Okay, I'm never doing it again."
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to go do it other than just completion.
And it is nearly impossible to fail these things. We did a bunch of them as a group. There's a bunch of them that Ava was like, "Why is this in a group?" And Fern was trying to make some justification to me about it. Like, there's one that's literally run to the end without wall kicking or gliding.
Yeah.
And what is the point of being able to do that in a group?
You can race.
And you're like,
that's it.
You can race your friends.
I had a huge amount of trouble with that because I kept accidentally gliding when I wasn't trying to.
Yeah,
I couldn't work out why.
Yeah,
it's something to do. I was eventually convinced that there's a small amount of input lag, and you count as holding down your jump button after you've released it for a certain split second of time.
Yeah, you got to let go immediately. But there's I forgot Firm was on the controller, so I think you had a few bit of trouble with some of those.
The biggest problem with the mouse and keyboard setup I found, first and foremost, you cannot use Control or Alt for keybinds.
What are you going
Yeah.
to bind to them? It's not like you can do anything.
Dodge, preferably, because by default it's dodge to X, which means you have to turn your hand inside out to press it.
Oh, I just double tap, but then I stopped double tapping and just blocked because the actual dodge is so hideously unresponsive.
Yes.
You can't animation cancel anything. It's
Correct.
almost entirely useless.
So they've added these 5-step basic attack arts, and they're awfully executed.
The number of steps varies depending on the weapon.
Yeah, they are horribly executed, because what this means in practice is you can't actually cancel out of anything except at set points in the combo, and this drove me nuts for a while. And the only weapon that used that system that I could stomach was the double saber.
Yeah.
So that's what I leveled. My first class to 20 was a fighter, and it's the only class I got to 20 for that matter. But it's just a mess. I don't like this, the way they got the cancel mechanic going.
It's just so much that a small tweak here and there for a lot of these systems would probably solve it.
Well,
about
that would only be if they were all in isolation. Because they are all mistakes, I think this whole game is a back to the drawing board. This game screams Final Fantasy XIV 1.0. Which is in fact what I've started seeing people comparing it to.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like I said, all those things that only need a small tweak. The problem is there's some big systems that just need complete ripping out.
Yeah, and there are no systems that don't at minimum require some tweaking. Like
Yeah.
they just didn't get any core system right. There's nothing to build from. They might as well start over. They've done everything wrong.
Yeah, this game, I would not be surprised if it gets a full relaunch later when they correct some stuff. It's just there's too much wrong with it. But let's talk about the bugs
Yay!
before I forget, because we got to move on to E3 eventually.
What's your favorite?
So we'll start with launch week.
Oh yeah. Oops.
During launch week, I sent a list of what I remembered just from personal experience to Fern. Let's see.
Yes.
During a rant I sent to Fern, let's see.
Gotta find it again.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, in Meseta, the new Meseta, which is a serious roadblock right now to doing literally anything.
Because everything
disappear-
requires like 50,000 of it.
Yeah, disappearing from your inventory when you use the sell from inventory feature.
Yeah, I like the
plate-
sell from inventory system. That's nice. It means you don't need to go back to the vendor.
Didn't it
was
also
like-
didn't it also get removed on like leveling up and fast traveling and stuff like that as well?
Yes.
Yeah, if you had sold with your sell to from inventory, every time you teleported and leveled up, that money would be deducted from your wallet.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no reason.
They
So
didn't
if you-
do a beta, right?
They did a closed beta, so they did a publicity beta.
So they hired all the most famous PSO2 streamers.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
That's exactly what they did.
Because I noticed that it was all the people who were in the beta testing were people like Anamana and that. And it's like,
Yeah.
why these people? Why have you chosen these people? That's not suspicious at all.
Like, it's not that uncommon for the big streamers to get access to the beta in games like this these days, but they use it.
There's
as a
nobody
publicity
else.
beta.
There is really
Yeah.
no one else.
But yeah, nobody that I could find anywhere had got access to the beta that wasn't an influencer of some kind. It was 100% a publicity beta. Okay, so every time you teleport after you use that feature, you will just lose that money permanently.
Yep, it's gone. Goes poof.
Yeah, it just goes poof, and I'm not sure there's anything they can do about it.
Nah, I've lost a little
they-
bit of money that way. So I figured
Same.
it out.
I also figured it out, but I had lost quite a bit of money that way. So I don't know if they fixed it yet. I'm too scared to check.
Just don't think about it.
Especially after I sold that stupidly expensive wand and now have 1.5 million Meseta.
which is a ridiculous amount of money in the current climate.
It is simultaneously a ridiculous amount of money and also no money at all.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Which
What's
is
it gonna buy me?
it's a very perverse sort of economy.
Yeah. It's like
What's it going to get me? Something from the AC scratch ticket?
you have more money now than probably 99% of players, but it's
I
still
don't
not going
doubt
to
it.
get you very far.
But that's
But
enough
you-
to like augment your weapon once.
That's enough money to get you one fully kitted out multi-weapon.
Exactly. And that's as far as it's going to go.
There's no
Or-
reason to get a fully kitted out multi-weapon since there's nothing to fight with it.
Yeah.
Which is both convenient and inconvenient.
Pauper Star Online.
So yeah, that bug I don't know has been fixed yet. Next bug, the player shop feature was, or the player shop in general for the first week was completely broken. Like it didn't work.
It's still janky.
It still has. Well, that's mostly just a cache issue.
And some of it's
that's
just
existed.
pure bad design.
Well, the cache problem has been around since PSO2. PSO2 just works like that for some
Yeah,
godforsaken reason.
I'm
Unless you
referring not
search.
to being able to search for items unless you specifically either have the name or have seen the item.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's the cache thing. If you have not seen the item, you cannot search for it in the search feature. That's been a thing since PSO2. If you haven't walked by somebody with that item equipped, then you won't have it in your cache.
It's dumb.
So yeah, it is dumb, but I think it's a holdover from when this game was a Vita game
Yeah, probably.
because it's in PSO2 too, PSO2 as well.
Vita didn't
Uh,
have
the-
that much memory.
The difference in PSO2 was you would go to a lobby and see a zillion people idling in the lobby, so you would be able to accrue most of your cash just by walking through a few blocks.
Yeah.
But for the more niche stuff, if you wanted to go look for outfits and stuff, you had to go search that manually too.
Well, I mean, honestly though, when you were searching for things, oftentimes it would be because you'd just seen somebody wearing it. So
Yeah.
it was usually not a problem.
Yeah. In this game, the search by category feature is still busted sometimes. I don't know what makes it work and what makes it not work, or if it's just a on and off kind of thing. But for some godforsaken reason, the stupid search by category feature just doesn't work.
Yeah, I've never seen it work.
Yeah, so that's still busted. And when the first week it came out, nothing worked. And it had the added bug of before they fixed it after 5 days in an emergency maintenance. If you went to the player shop and put stuff up as premium, anything you put on the shop got permanently locked there, not buyable or sellable.
Mm-hmm.
It was just stuck there in your sell inventory, eating up inventory space for a couple days.
Welcome to Limbo.
So that item just would sit there for a while. Thankfully, I didn't have anything in there that got stuck, but a bunch of other people did.
Yeah.
Oh, they were thrilled.
And I've heard they fixed that now, though. But yeah, the player stop still has jank in it, but they've got around to fixing it. So we had to put up with that week one. What else? Let's see. I already talked about player shop being that.
On the back end, they're still using GameGuard from the original PSO2 with all of the joys that come with that.
Yeah, you've had wonderful rage about that happening while you've been trying to play with us.
Yeah, where
And then-
GameGuard just says, no, GameGuard's suddenly not installed.
So yeah, weapon camos are broken.
Yeah, weapon cameras are
Like-
broken.
Totally broken. They don't work. They have a system where you can totally go and set up a weapon camo for every weapon type. They say,
Which is nice.
at least in theory, if it functioned.
If it worked. But,
It does, but it doesn't.
It doesn't. Especially on multi-weapons.
Yeah, something tells me the multi weapons are the reason it's broken. But
Probably.
I think they just disabled the feature, and you can only equip one again for now. Other feature that's disabled. There's supposed to be a gather party members button at
Yeah,
every
that'll
single teleport point. Doesn't work. They just disabled the function.
Incidentally,
You
for
can
no
s-
apparent reason, you still need to be in the same block and zone as another player in order to invite them to a party.
And you need to be in the same block and zone to do literally anything with them. And they still have a freaking room system. Like if you go into Resol Forest,
Well, we're
it
in a room
has.
right now.
Well, I'm playing the urgent quest. I don't know what you're
You
doing.
went to the urgent quest. I'm still in Resort Forest.
Yeah, but yeah, you go to a zone like Resol Forest, like Vern's in right now, and in order to play with your friends, you have to be in the same room as them. So not just block, but room. And these rooms can hold 8 people. 8
Just 8.
in all the combat zones. In the non-combat zones, they can hold like I think 32.
Yeah, about that.
Not very many. But this is why you don't see very many people in the world. The only place exempt from this, from what I can tell, is Central City.
Even then, it
Yeah.
seems to have a limit.
But yeah, I don't know if Central City can have multiple rooms or not. I'd have to check.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a limit on as a room as such. I think it might just be only so many players will render.
Maybe. But yeah, so what this means is if you go to like Resol Forest and you head out a bit before your friends, and they don't come immediately behind you, or if you just get unlucky and you're in a party of 3 and you get into one with 6 people in it already, and you and one friend get in there, the other friend won't get in there. He'll get thrown in a different room, and you'll have to do rejiggering at the teleport point to move rooms.
That's what happened at the start of the show. When we joined Resort Forest, we both teleported together, but I already got put into a room of 7 people. So I got stuck all on my lonesome.
Yeah, because my room was full.
Wow, rejected by the game server. How does it feel?
Honestly, at this point, liberating.
You're probably in good company anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem
So-
like the game really wants people to play it.
This came off of, and you gotta remember, all this came off of a ridiculously overextended maintenance that everybody saw coming, but was not a good first impression of the game. It was late by, I think, 10 hours.
Roughly, yeah.
Now it didn't matter for me because I expected extended maintenance and I had to go to work the next day.
And it happened at 2 o'clock in the morning for me, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, so it came up, I think, just after my lunch break at work.
Yeah, I just
And,
put it down to, it's an MMO launch, expect the massive maintenance.
Yeah, but for some reason
launch
people,
to be bad.
I don't know why people weren't expecting that. Like, on top of it being an MMO launch,
Because
PSO
there's no game there, so why would they need to maintain it?
There's people
Well,
that tell you
yeah.
pattern recognition.
So yeah, let's see. Yeah, the biggest issue, of course, was the lag,
Oh, the lag.
and some photon arcs being just straight up busted. Like they have the scaling completely wrong on some of their abilities. Some of them are doing way too much. Some of them are doing way too little. Like, come on, you don't got that many. Surely you could get this figured out, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's
the lag
what,
actually
like-
reached points where you could be fighting a boss and then everything would just stop for a good 30 seconds.
Oh, we got 3 minutes sometimes.
Yeah, it got up to 3 minutes on the first day.
Yeah, so well, more than the first day. I was getting that as far as until they did the first maintenance fix, and then it would still go for quite a while.
Yeah, so you could just run around and wail on things and then just drop dead.
By the
Yeah.
time I took my first crack at it, I was still getting like a minute long
Yeah.
gaps, and that was days after you guys started.
Yeah, and it was it was awful riding the struggle bus there.
Thankfully, they seem to have gotten the worst of that sorted.
Yeah, I only
it's
get-
better than it was, but that just allows you to play a game that is no good. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, now that the lag's not there, because it was really, I didn't want to judge the game with lag as the same as the game without lag, because that's a launch week issue I expect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no lag being there didn't help anything.
Didn't help. Did not help. So my
No,
favourite
no.
bug is going into the urgent quest. I've just had the game quietly crash behind the loading screen and not react in any way.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
That's always fun.
My favorite bug was the dragon urgent quest, where the boss's weak point only appears when he's downed or stunned, and
Except when it doesn't.
except sometimes in phase 2 he just won't get downed or stunned, and his break bar will bug out and won't go down.
Yep. So good luck doing that before the time is up.
Yeah, we had 30 seconds left the time that happened.
We could keep going on and on with the issues, but
Yeah, and these are just the ones we remember. The
Yeah.
ones that didn't impact us personally, or the ones that have slipped our mind, are still there, and there's a bunch of them.
There's a lot.
Now, yeah, I don't know.
So,
It
I want to like it because when I first wanted to play PSO2 all those years ago, this is sort of the thing I was kind of wanting. Not necessarily open world, because the open world just seems to be open world for the sake of being open world at this point. You've got the pods and the red chests, and that's really it.
yeah, it's there's just no point in being open world. You could just put those materials inside of missions and give them a cooldown or something, like you did in PSO2, and it would be a better system.
Yeah. I like the idea of the open world, but you've got to have a reason for it. It's got to be something there to find.
Well, it's not just that, but it needs to be a place.
It does
Because
have to be a place.
what we currently have is just basically, it feels like video game level.
It very much does.
Like, this is the intro planes level.
It does. And the next level we already know is going to be Desert World, then Ice World.
Yeah, and I hate the argument people are making
Which
for
one?
all
There's
for
a
the
lot.
well, specifically for the content and the amount of stuff to do. They keep making, oh well, PSO2 is just like this at launch. That doesn't matter.
No, it wasn't.
That is wholly irrelevant to this game right now. Number one, PSO2 came out in 2012. Number two, PSO2 was a Vita game.
Yes.
Well, quite aside from that, this is an expansion to PSO2. This is not a new game. They've got all of the knowledge on how to make a game that they have accrued over all that time. I don't think you get to start from square one again with no experience. You don't deserve that amount of credit.
Yeah. And finally, people's expectations have shifted, largely because of not the bigger games as well, but there's been smaller MMOs that have come out with just as much, if not more, content than some of the bigger games on launch. So there's really no excuse for putting a game out with nothing in it.
You also like, because they are making, essentially they're trying to make PSO2 too, despite the fact that they've bolted it onto the existing game, they actually need to be better than the previous game. Otherwise, there's no reason not to play that. Like, there's more to do in PSO2 than there is in PSO2 New Genesis, and it's not close. There seems to be not even any story to motivate you in New Genesis.
No, the story is completely bare bones
You
and
get the
nothing to
prologue.
it.
I mean, the story was kind of wonky near the start of PSO2 as well. Like, I mean, it's going to get brought up, obviously, but there was still, lots of color to it, because you would meet lots of characters and they would all have their little vignettes where you talked to them and they gave their opinions on things and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
You don't talk to
robots,
anybody. You don't talk to anybody in this game.
No, you have Big Blue Man, who dies, except he probably doesn't because it's that sort of game. And then you have two cookie cutter anime girls. And those are your main characters.
Yeah, so there's no story to speak of that is worth even mentioning.
And the problem, it all becomes all the bigger problem because they already know all of this stuff. They've danced this dance before. They made PSO2. So they know what they're doing is bad, and they're doing it anyway. Which is why I think that this is like producer mismanagement due to COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The whole thing, I think, has been rushed out the door because reasons?
They probably told their boss, we can have it done by X, and started working on it sometime right before 2020. And when everybody got to work from home, nobody could supervise anybody, and they didn't meet any of the deadlines or goals they had on the project in anything that resembled a timely manner.
Meanwhile, they've stopped producing content for PSO2 in anticipation for it.
And there's just nothing here to replace it with.
Yeah.
You've given us, not even, if you're being generous to the game and you're doing absolutely everything, there ain't even a week of content here.
No.
Yeah. This isn't even a chapter that would be released in a patch of PSO2 Classic. It's like maybe a tenth of that.
If they put this out as a chapter and said, okay, this is also introducing a whole lot of back-end stuff for future chapters, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye.
Oh, I don't know. I think people still would have been pretty dubious because the systems as implemented are so poor.
Yeah, there's that. But in terms of just level of content. Provided the following chapters make up for it.
Well, we've got no reason to believe they will.
We do not.
Because they've already shown that they thought that what they released was, within the realm of a minimum deliverable product for a launch.
And you're going to have most of their dev time spent on the back end fixing all the problems they caused with this launch. They're not going to be spending it on new content for a while, I would think, and they probably put whatever they've got on hold while they get most of their coding team to fix what's wrong with the dang game.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Because
annoying,
there's so many.
if we go... which way? That way? Over that way somewhere. We can actually look over the fence and see where the rest of the content is.
Yeah. Like, there's just a giant barrier stopping you from going there.
Yeah. So, if they delayed launch by, I'd say at bare minimum 6 months, and launched it with that other content, fixed all the bugs, then people wouldn't be quite so annoyed.
They needed to test this. The team clearly was mismanaged. I think Vol's right about it being due to COVID.
Yeah, I think COVID's a definite contributor.
I think the video games industry in general is bad for people that don't have supervision over their shoulder.
Yes.
It is not an industry I think can be done working from home. I think you all need to be in the same room to be able to verbally communicate ideas with each other much cleaner and make sure people are doing their dang job, especially in the era of I'll just browse Facebook instead of doing my work.
Yeah, I mean, you are in an office with your other employees, and I mean, how well do they stay on task?
Well, there are after COVID, they don't work there anymore, except for the opossum.
But you know what it was like, though, when you still had an office full of
Yeah.
employees, and how much work they got done if you weren't actually watching them.
Yeah, you have to, if you are in especially if you're near the end of the chain, when it comes to a production of something, then you have to go get something from the guy in front of you. And if you're just waiting on him, you know when you're waiting on him. And you know how often that happens. And I guarantee you I'm not alone in this. Everybody has had some guy up in the chain of doing whatever you do for your job that you need them to finish their job before you can do your job. Then they just haven't got what they needed from them.
Well, the thing is, in addition to that, the chain involved in making games is very complex. Like, there is a sort of a dynamic reallocation of duties that happens throughout the entire process with things like, how much work do you think the concept artists are doing by the time the game is about to go gold? Not a lot.
Yeah. Especially not for a one and done release, but for an MMO, they need to be sent to work on more assets, more enemies, more areas, more levels, stuff to add into the game if we're talking about a game like PSO2.
Oh god, I just came back to town. I'll have to wonder if I'm on block 69. I need to get out of here. Sorry for any offensive content you may have seen.
Yeah, that's not safe for work in there. That's like YouTube bannable in there.
Yeah.
Get out of that block.
I'm out of 69.
I've never been there, so...
Do not. It is a most unwholesome place.
I got auto-logged into it today and saw Naked Tamamo right away. Uncensored Naked Tamamo.
That is block 69.
Yeah, don't go to block 69. That is probably the worst offense PSO22 has made. And that block 69 is back.
Well, I mean...
block 42 before.
34.
Oh, 34. 42 is the good block. 42 is the good block. You want to go to block 42.
Yeah, 34 is the nasty one.
No, 42 is the social hangout block for the people that don't want to spam lewd symbol art.
Yes. I'm extremely bored now, by the way.
Yep. So, there ain't much more that I feel like needs saying about PSO2. We've hit the high points.
One big thing we do need to point out is the entire purpose of of PSO2 is not in this game. There is no fashion.
There are no outfits to speak of that you can purchase.
Let me see. If I go to the scratch cards, let's see.
Oh, the current
scratch
scratch
cards, the AC shop. There's no costumes in here.
Oh, there's no things in the AC shop to begin with. But the AC scratch card currently is where you get all your... where in PSO2 you got them there as well. The current scratch card, the one they launched the game with, is the biggest dud of a scratch card I've ever seen.
The soldier line.
Oh my goodness! It's like this is the gear you wear if you want to look super super hyper ultra generic in every possible way.
Yes.
So
Also,
let me
they seem to really hate casts because there's not a single cast piece, and if you want to have the kind of the hovering glide for your photon sprint, your full out run, you need to pay for the collector's edition.
Yeah. So, to put it in perspective, this AC scratch ticket, which is like a gotcha for cosmetic items, for those that don't know,
They gave it a pretty animation. I got eyeballs.
No, to be fair, most gacha games have less grinding and more content than this.
yeah. So anyway, you do your gotcha on the AC scratch ticket. You get a bunch of cosmetic items that are not soulbound. You can sell them on the player shop. On the player shop, if you go search for the cosmetics from this scratch ticket, due to it being the first scratch ticket and the fact that nobody wants any of this garbage, they are all dirt cheap and falling.
Let me have a look, see what I can
Well,
spot.
I've heard from players who actually care about the economy that the economy in New Genesis has already become as derelict as the economy was by the end of PSO2 Classic. And
Yep.
that it's basically a club where everybody is farming recycle badges forever.
Pretty much.
Yeah, nobody.
It's all full of... hang on, I'm gonna skip past all this stuff.
Yeah, nobody can use the personal shop to begin with. The fact that normal people can't use the shop has just cut out most of the player market entirely and is limited to only the people that are paying for premium, which are mostly only the super hardcore players and the people that had premium carrying over from PSO2. So these people have created a radically inflated market for the amount of gold available or Meseta available right now.
Yeah, so it's going to drive the price of everything into the dirt.
Yeah.
It's just not
So-
there's not enough fluid moving around the economy because all the people who have premium, they're not going to be they're going to be only focused on upgrading their weapons. That money is going to be being rapidly dumped from the economy into the Meseta sinks, which is customizing weapons because the premium people are mostly going to be people who are focused on that type of thing. Get your best in slot for every weapon types of people.
Yeah, and these people are also more likely than the commoner to use a pay-to-win method, in that they could get Meseta to continue that process, which is a commodity right now, by buying AC scratch ticket pieces and just selling them, which is not uncommon. So that's another reason the AC scratch ticket currently is flooded. The only thing out there that sells for anything of note is 500,000 for the hand-on hip idle animation.
Hang on. Hand on hip is 500,000. No, hang on. Sorry, tell a lie. It's 750,000 now.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's being sold.
You have the Rappy Glide and the Rappy Stand. The Rappy Glide is
That's not from the scratch ticket. That's from the purchase of the Super Collector's Pack or whatever.
Yeah.
Rappy Start Jump Dash Pack.
the Jump Jack Dash. Yeah, which admittedly I want the Rappy Glide, but I'm not going to spend the money to actually get it like that.
But why do you want it? This game is bad. You're not going to spend any time playing it.
Because it looks absolutely ridiculous, and that's about it.
But you're not going to see it because you won't be playing the game because there's nothing to do.
True that.
I will log on when people roll on the wedding scratch ticket to get any cool dresses that may come out of it, and you'll stop playing then.
Yeah.
It's like, mission accomplished, got my wedding dress, done.
Yeah.
Like,
Unless they come out and say, okay, we're putting out this huge content drop, we're going to readdress everything, then I don't think I'll be back.
No, I'm not going to go back, period, until somebody tells me, oh, it's cool now.
Yeah.
Somebody whose opinion I actually trust.
I will dip in and out of the game occasionally and check on it, but I think I'm already just playing it to do dailies to accrue money for that scratch ticket, and that's the only goal I have, is to buy the fashion out of that scratch ticket and then call it a day.
Yeah. Incidentally,
Yeah,
over here we have a stage.
Oh,
There's
yes.
nothing on it.
No, nobody
They-
listens there.
They have a couple of okay areas in this city that are totally not used.
Yeah.
There are no concerts. There are no anything.
There's the cafe over here, but you can't actually use the chairs.
Yeah, you can't use the chairs. The cafe doesn't do anything after you complete the quests.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing to do here.
There's a cat over here, but you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, there's sections of the town that are just not used. Like that cafe, you can't talk to anybody. They have a place clearly where player housing was meant to be implemented over here. If you come here, Fern.
Hang on, I'm around the wrong side. Yeah, the quests actually send you into the player housing area. It says,
And they,
here is a house for you. It is over here.
And then they don't let you go in it.
Yeah.
And they say it's not available yet. Or they don't say it's not available yet, but it's very clearly not available yet. And this is very clearly where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, like here's another social area, and this is your player housing through here.
Yeah.
And they basically tell you in the storyline, oh, we're going to the player housing now, and then you just don't.
Basically, yeah.
It just fades to black. Oh, we had such a good rest in our rooms.
Yeah.
We don't have.
Did you? Or did you just go and stand in the cupboard for 5 minutes?
It's very much you have to laugh or else you'll cry game. Because it's so bad. Every particle of it is bad. I spent my entire time playing it wishing I was playing different games, which is a real bad sign. Like I would be playing and I'd be thinking about, oh, I could be doing this in Monster Hunter, or I'd be playing and I'd be like, man, I really would like to go back and play more of the classic PSO2 because I'm not having fun here, but there's still story for me to clear in PSO2. Like it was a game that inspired me to be wanting to do anything else.
It inspired me to go bake. So there you go.
Yeah,
I was playing, I was thinking, you know what I could go for right now? Hot, fresh cookies.
I'm not being as harsh as I probably should be, and I'm still beating on this game pretty good. But I was looking for a grindy type game to fill the slot where I can do something with my hands while I listen to something. PSO2 was great for that. PSO2, there's just nothing to do.
It is empty.
Like if my progression is not get better at a boss, and that's the other thing. There's no solo content. There's a ton of solo content you can go do and practice at to get legitimately good in PSO2.
If you're behind the wave, everything is solo content.
Yeah.
The
first time the first time I met Bujin, it was a gold Bujin and I was by myself. Yeah. And it took me a very, very long time to kill it.
Was it the one in the North Aleo in the swampy area?
No. It spawned as a PSE burst that happened when I was by myself and there was nobody around.
Oh dear.
It was a gold Bujin that could kill me in 2 hits. And I beat him, but it took me like half an hour to do it.
Do you see totally not Virgil and get killed by his judgment nut? I
didn't get killed by that because
it's telegraphed like a week in advance.
Yeah, you can get out of it relatively easily, and also I play Wide Lance, so I'm just more resilient on average than most characters.
Yeah, it's just that funny to me how much of a carbon copy of Virgil's moveset that guy's moves are. He literally just has Judgment Slash, Judgment Slash Dash, and Judgment Nut. And those are his moves.
I'd never seen this guy before, and it was a gold one, and it's clearly designed to be fought by a group, but it was just me, by myself, because everything in that game is by myself.
Yeah.
So, they do have one thing in the world they try to make you do, but it's not worth it. Number one, because it's much of a muchness to min-max your gear. Number two, because the absurd amount of it you need is insane, and that's veteran farming. I tried this for a bit. There are veteran enemies that are level 15 that spawn throughout the world. I had a map that I sent to Fern. If I can find it, I'll post it again.
I saw the Bujin wandering around the swamp, the regular Bujin.
I'll fight that one.
Elite one. I had just been freshly traumatized by the one that I had just fought, so I avoided it like the plague.
So in live show chat, I'm going to post a map of these things. This is the map route I use. And that's if I ever decide to farm them, which I won't anymore. But when I was attempting it, that's the map I used.
What is supposed to make you want to farm them? What is the incentive?
They drop a single augment that is exclusive to them. And they drop it fairly frequently. And it's one of the best augments that you'll want on every piece of gear if you're min-maxing. But it is so little of a boost, even despite being one of the best augments, that it's not worth it. It's called Dreadkeeper.
So it's the best, except that the 80-20 solution is cheaper and easier and less abusive to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is marginally and it does not sit on the same type table as any of the other augments, so it doesn't eat any of their slots. It's unique, so that's another reason people like it. But it is totally, completely worthless because none of the content requires it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go to my material storage, I can tell you what it freaking does if I scroll down to it. That's the golly PSO2 too. Why is my material storage for both games the same material storage?
Because screw you. That's why.
Okay, Damage Keeper 1. This goes up to I think you can craft 3, but you can get up to 2 to drop. 10 HP, 3 PP, potency floor increased by 1%, damage resistance 1%.
Potency floor increased by 1%, but you do 25 damage per shot.
Mm-hmm.
So what 1%? 1% of 25 is what? 0.25?
Yeah, so I need...
You do a quarter of a damage point extra on your lowest hit. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. It is literally better just to get raw damage by enhancing my weapon. It will matter for nothing. The PP and the HP or whatever. I mean, if you put that on every single piece of equipment you got, that's 40 HP and 12 PP, and 4% damage floor increase. Great. Okay. What boss in the game or what content at all requires you to min-max that hard when you could just slap another anything else in that slot?
For a lot less effort.
And now, the only good thing I found for them for is selling that particular thing, because people don't want to go farm the veterans, because it's a pain in the butt. Which is more money for the scratch ticket. Put item up for sale, material storage, scroll down to it, and let's see how much it's going for right now. Dreadkeeper 1. Since people have nothing to do now, it's down to 9,000. It was selling for 14. But Dreadkeeper 2 still selling for like 70. So...
Alright, we've rattled on this enough. We should probably take a break and then look at the
E3
stuff.
So yeah, that's PSO2 too. I am giving you a hard avoid until somebody tells you otherwise.
Yeah. Definitely skipping it. Alright.
Yeah, I logged out. I logged into Monster Hunter Rise. I have no regrets.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm just gonna quit while my character's getting beaten on, and I'm probably not gonna log back in again for a while now.
And we didn't get around to a bunch of the systems that probably slipped our brain. We could talk about food. We could talk about the cocoons and towers themselves and how dumb some of them are. Oh, we could go on and on and on.
Yeah, let's just cut our losses. So, we're going to take a break. And we'll be back with E3's mess.
Yep. And we're back. And we move on from PSO2 disappointment to general gaming industry disappointment.
Yay!
The yearly event.
Except that at least in this case, there's a lot less surprise.
You
Like-
know, we've been doing this show for a decade. We've probably covered 9 or 10 E3s now.
This is number 10, yeah. Oh,
So we're
Yeah.
Well, although as Razorfist rightly pointed out, I had in fact forgotten that there was no E3 last year.
it
yeah.
made that little difference.
because it just doesn't in today's day and age.
So, yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that's kind of just happens around the middle of the year now, and E3 is trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, E3 is just the name the gaming community still gives the season of releases that happen now, because there's also an old press conference that still happens at that time.
Yeah. E3 used to
Not
be
releases,
fun.
but announcements.
EA plays in July though, right? It's like a month from now or so.
I don't know.
No, they yeah, about a month from now, actually. Yes. And I just noticed I did a do. Never mind, I'll just get rid of that. There we go. So, let us start at the top of the heap with probably the most interesting. Well, the most contenty presentation, which was the overlap between Microsoft and Bethesda. Because
Well, they own a lot of studios now compared to this time 2 years ago.
yeah,
It's really worrying me that they're almost de facto winning this generation because of the way Sony's been behaving.
yeah, Sony didn't even
Because-
bother turning up for E3 at all in any sort of.
But Microsoft is such a shuggoth. I don't like any generation where they're ahead.
Yeah, but
there's so much other stuff tied into the sort of entity that is Microsoft. It's not just a gaming software company. It's an everything else software company as well.
yeah,
Something that's less of a risk with Sony because the only software thing they do is gaming.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, they do video editing as well, but that hardly counts.
and they do a bit of proprietary stuff for their smart devices, but that's about it.
To tie in this worry to PSO2, the reason the localization changed Blacklist to Blocklist and Master to Handler was actually not the localization team's decision, though I'm sure they were more than happy to comply with it. This was a mandate from Microsoft, I found out later.
Right.
Because something diversity and inclusion, something racism.
Something, I'm sure.
So, as far as the woke points of this whole E3 goes, by the way, it was relatively low, which actually surprised me. Because normally every conference has some 5-minute ramble about how great this company is. The only one that
Well-
did that was Ubi, because, well, it's Ubi.
Well, yeah, they always do. They always have very diverse casts of people appearing, and they try and keep the whiteness to a minimum
So,
because they're
speaking of-
racist.
Speaking of whiteness, the very first thing I saw for E3 was Todd Howard.
Oh my goodness, they let him out of his cage.
They
Why?
let him out of his box. Only for a few
Did he
minutes.
try and sell Skyrim again?
No. Well, actually, yes. Because he made sure to point out that it was the 10th year of Skyrim.
Please go buy it.
Go buy it again. Meanwhile, here's Starfield. And this is our first official look at Starfield, and I got to say, I am disappointed.
Did
is
we
not
get
the
it?
right word.
Did we get a look at Starfield though? Because
No.
I didn't see Starfield.
No, what we saw is a guy starting a spaceship on the moon.
You saw pre-rented footage.
We saw pre-rendered footage. No gameplay, no nothing to really say about what the game's about, except it's in space.
Base.
It's in space, and there is a guy also walking around in a robot.
Yeah, we assumed space from the name.
Base.
I was honestly expecting a space western because that seems to be the go-to thing these days.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason not to do a space western, if
Yeah.
you ask me.
Because Firefly did it, so everyone has to do it now. But that's it. We got a release date, which is the 11th of the 11th next year.
Oh, not again.
Because this is Bethesda. They gotta make the same, keep to a pattern, I guess.
Well, I mean,
They don't
what this
change the
basically
industry.
What this basically means is that they've committed to a themed release date, and so it's going to be a disaster mess of bugs.
Yeah, no doubt.
Worse than
And-
Skyrim could have
We-
dreamed of.
Like, we don't even know if they've finally moved off the creation engine. They didn't show a single snippet of actual gameplay, or
I
even
doubt they
in-engine footage.
They
So
will have
there-
bolted on another bunch of band-aids to the creation engine.
Which means
And
that
remember-
it's going to be molten slag when you install it.
They'll call it like Creation Engine 2.0 or something, but it'll actually just be the Creation Engine plus a bunch of other extra bolt-on bits.
That's essentially
Which
what
is-
we already have, though.
Yeah, because that's what an engine is.
Yeah.
Remember when, just showing a cinematic trailer was only okay if the game was still 2 or 3 years out?
Yeah. Like, if
Those were the days.
this is the very first people were hearing about it, and they're saying, like, okay, the game's going to be out in, like, 3 years, I don't think anyone would have minded, but this is
If
saying
the
it's
release
going to
date-
be in 18 months.
Yeah, if the release date said 2023, I would be less dubious. But because they don't have gameplay a year out, or a year and a half out,
And remember, the year that was passed was the COVID year, when
And
Yeah.
nobody
Doesn't
did
count.
any work.
nobody did any work that year.
and you can't trust the work that was done, because it's probably bad. I imagine this is why it's taking Hollow Knight so long, because they were in Australia. And I think they were in one of the more populated areas of your country where they went insane.
Yeah, I think they're in Melbourne, so,
Well, they're going to be in either Melbourne or Brisbane, one or the other.
one of the
Most
two, yeah.
likely. Nobody can afford real estate in Sydney.
Nobody can afford Sydney, and nobody wants to live in Sydney anyway, because Sydney's awful. Don't live in Sydney, people. It's
What if
overrated.
you're a bin chicken?
Brisbane is the home of the bin chicken.
Have you never been to Darling Harbour?
I have, actually, and yeah, there's bin chickens
It's
everywhere.
nothing but bin chickens as far as the eye can see.
Yeah,
Oh, they're in Adelaide.
they're everywhere. Every coastal
Adelaide?
city has bin chickens. Why
Who
do you
lives
go-
in Adelaide?
No one goes to Adelaide.
That's where their office is located.
Okay. Yeah, South Australia went full spaz with the border closures.
Well, that explains why Hollow Knight's been delayed, or we haven't heard anything about it. It hasn't been delayed. We never got a release date.
I didn't think there was anybody in South Australia.
There's no power there. They don't have any electricity.
Is South Australia a fully independent state?
No.
Like, there's like some of them have got more autonomy than others. I remember that much.
Yeah, you got the standard states, and then you've got the two territories, which is the Northern Territory and the Australian Capital Territory.
Right. Okay.
So they've got the same level of autonomy as the other states do. And that doesn't, I suppose, include the ability to make their own dumb decisions.
Which means locking down your area completely during Wooflu and breaking in people's cars and stuff. Yeah, that's why. That explains everything. I
Anyway,
understand the Hollow Knight problem.
We've got a lot to go on, so we should not get too bogged down to that. We didn't actually see
That's right.
Hollow Knight at all this E3, by the way.
Yeah, this is me coping, okay?
You're getting the itch.
Did we see Star Citizen?
No,
No.
That's because that game doesn't exist.
it is a myth.
I still see otherwise rational people trying to defend it.
Yeah, but there's less every year.
I hear less and less about it every year, and it's at a point where I only remember it exists when you two bring it up.
Yeah. I got a couple of friends who are kind of still on the fence about it, but they're really wavering.
I'll be
It-
fine to take it all back and enjoy it if it turns out to be a good game, but I am not yet convinced that it is a game.
If. Anyway. So yeah, Starfield. Absolutely no confidence in it. We don't even know what it is at this point. Next game.
So how are they going to get us to buy it?
By marching Todd Howard out to do a musical number again?
I don't think that the Todd Howard's hype train quite has the gas that he thinks it does anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Spoiler alert, Todd, your hype train has square wheels.
Why did Microsoft gotta do a thing with pushing all their liars out on the front
Honestly,
stage
Well,
to go
it's-
talk to people?
Todd came out and he looked ruffled. He looked like he had actually escaped from a cage.
I think that's just because his personal hygiene's not great, to be honest.
He just always looks scruffy.
But in this case, it's quite a simple matter of they are showing off the fact that they have Bethesda now as an exclusive in-house.
By putting them front and center, yeah.
Yeah, that's the purpose of this exercise.
Yeah. All right. Next game is Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. We haven't seen a Stalker game in a while.
Yeah, they aren't really my kind of thing because they require you to enjoy, walking around a brooding Soviet hellscape at great length.
Yes.
Which isn't really my idea of a good time.
Yes.
Tried to play them, but the first one, I think it was Shadow of Chernobyl, just had too many issues technically for me to get it to work properly.
A lot of those older Stalker games do. They don't play nice with Windows 10 at all.
Didn't like Seth have a life hack for getting Stalker to work or something?
He did.
Probably.
For one of them, yeah. Call of Pripyat, I think he had. Was that one? But this looks like it's more the standard Chernobyl. The standard Stalker fare. It's got Russians. It's got vodka. It's got magic radiation.
I love how radiation in fiction just can do anything.
It can do absolutely anything. Next game they showed was Back 4 Blood. It is Left 4 Dead with really awful dialogue.
Yeah, it was pretty cringe.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
It's just you're surrounded by zombies. Now is not the time to be quipping. Stop it.
I didn't see this
release date for that is October 12th. Alright, here's a quickfire one. Contraband. It's co-op, it's open world. It is set in the Amazon, I think. And that's about all we know.
If it's about contraband, why isn't it set in Central America?
I guess they're going for the whole cocaine trade or something. I don't know.
But that is Central America.
That is Central America.
Like, everything in Central America is contraband.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's all we know. They showed just a bunch
I
of
have no
people
idea what the
driving
game
around
is
in the
about.
jungle, really.
Like, I for a moment I thought it was going to be like Far Cry 6 or something.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be Far Cry 6.
Because I mean,
That was
every
a bit
Far Cry game
Ubisoft.
these days is about a banana republic. So
It's kind of their thing, yeah. And not in the same way that, now I've forgotten completely what that other series was. Where it just basically involves putting an explosion in a box. Anyway,
Just Cause.
that's the one. Alright, next we have Sea of Thieves, which put out the crossover that honestly should have happened years ago, and that is the Pirates of the Caribbean crossover.
It both should have happened and should never happen because it just makes it more obvious what the whole point of the game is, which is to cash in on that craze, which is now late.
Which is very late. But it looks like Sea of Thieves actually has a story you can play through now.
I don't know that it looks like, oh, there's a story you can play through, but it also, I had this sort of weird gut feeling that this was one of those situations where they have managed to put every single piece of storyline content into the trailer and then cut it together to make it look like it has a story.
I would not be a scrap surprised if that's the case.
That's what it felt like to me. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, I played a little bit of Sea of Thieves earlier on, and it's like, okay, these are some really fun mechanics. What do we do with them? What do you mean nothing?
Well, the only person who I've ever seen give testimony that it has a lot of legs is Gabe from Penny Arcade, and that's because his entire household plays it, and they all play it together. So it's basically, a family co-op game, which is basically an environment that can't be emulated by most people.
Mm-hmm. If you can do that, then I think you're going to have a lot of fun with that game.
But that would also work for practically everything.
Yes,
so.
Exactly. All right, next, we got some announcements about Game Pass, which I am incredibly salty about. Yakuza is all of it is on now Game Pass now. But I tried to play Like the Dragon, but because it is the Microsoft Store, it decided it was going to spontaneously combust.
Yeah, I need somebody to help me form opinions on that game.
Yeah.
I don't. More so than a regular Yakuza because of how wonky it is with the gameplay. I need some help.
I want to throw an angry lobster at a giant Japanese man in a diaper.
Maybe I should take a crack at it because I've never played a Yakuza game.
You should absolutely play a Yakuza
so
game.
I don't have any preconceptions.
Absolutely play it. Either Yakuza Like a Dragon or Yakuza 0.
So far, I'm leaning on Zero and the Kiwami games being better.
Well, the
But,
only reason I say that is because if I played Yakuza 0, that would contaminate me, right? Because if I
Yeah.
played Like a Dragon without having played any of the others, then I might have a different perspective on it to what you guys have.
Yeah,
True.
because I want to get somebody that would be good. If somebody that doesn't have the Yakuza framework there, they could tell me better what's wrong with the RPG mechanics without me having to focus on the Yakuza bits of it.
Which
Because
are
there's a lot
absolute
wrong.
madness.
Because there's a lot infuriating about them attempting an open world turn-based RPG.
I still can't believe they did that. It's just so out of left field.
I mean, yeah,
Yakuza. I mean,
We're-
yeah.
we can't get too sidetracked on it, but yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Alright, next game they talk about was Battlefield 24. Or 2042, I should say, which is basically it's Battlefield.
Yeah, it looked like Battlefield again. I don't know.
It's Battlefield with more people.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
But-
the game 12 Minutes, starring William Dafoe, which they were very proud about.
This presentation looked exactly the same as the last time they presented it.
That was at the Game Awards, I want to say.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there has been no progress since then, as far as I can
It
tell.
looked
based on
exactly
what they
the
showed.
same, yeah. So that comes out in August. Next, Psychonauts 2, a game that a few years ago would have given me an absolute hype boner.
Except now you know what Tim Schafer is like and his propensity to screw up everything he touches.
Precisely. I could be proven
Yeah.
wrong. It could be great. It could live up to the original and run with that legacy.
I wouldn't
Well,
put money on it though, because I put
Yes.
money on Tim Schafer before.
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
burned.
I wouldn't put money on that bet either, just because you're older now. It won't have the same magic it did when you
There
were
is
little.
the whole rose-tinted spectacles as well, yes.
Yeah, because I didn't like the Psychonauts when I went and played it for the first time, because that was relatively recently, comparatively speaking, for me. And I thought that was an okay platformer, but just generally a bit weird and wonky.
Yeah, as an adult, I will admit Richard Steven Horvitz's voice does great after a bit. But as a kid, it's fantastic.
There are lots of things that as a kid you think are fantastic that in fact drive your parents up the wall, and as you get older you'll realize why.
Yeah. Alright, next is another Game Pass announcement. Not only is Psychonauts going to be a day one release, but they put all of the Bethesda back catalogue on there as well. Including Arx Fatalis, which I didn't even realise that was Bethesda. I want another one
Even
of those.
Skyrim.
You know what? I'm going to have a look. I can still look at the Windows Store, it just won't let me download anything. Let me see.
But-
Skyrim.
How will Todd Howard sell it to you if it's on Game Pass?
It is on the Windows Store. It is half price on Game Pass.
See, it's not. It's
It
not.
is
On,
not
it's not.
on-
Prop-
It is
Not free on
discounted on
Game
Game Pass. Why
Yeah,
is
because
Oblivion not free on Game Pass?
because if it was free, he couldn't sell it to you again.
Why is Morrowind still asking for money? What is going on?
It just works.
It just works.
Two games where 90% of the content is made by the community still charge prices a decade and a half after
Yeah,
the release.
they want $15 for Morrowind. Let me go onto Steam because I think Morrowind is only about like $3.
I scooped it for like $2 or $3 on Steam when it was on sale.
Here we go.
I don't
It's
know
$20. $20 for the full collection. Whereas on Game
But it
Pass,
goes-
it's $15 for the base edition.
Wait. They still sell base edition Morrowind without Tribunal or Blood Moon?
Correct.
What?
What a world we live in.
Oh no, hang on. No, they've just used the wrong art on the box.
Okay.
So it is Game
But-
of the Year edition. I was gonna say.
That would be a bit questionable at best.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. Game of the Year, Game Pass. Let me go click here, Oblivion. Okay, yeah, they are free to play on Game Pass. It's just the store does not make that clear until you click in a few steps closer. So
I see.
they are free to play on Game Pass. Okay, good. Right. Quick note about Elder Scrolls Online is they're giving a console optimization patch for the latest generation of consoles that nobody owns.
Yeah. Anytime anybody talks about the next generation of consoles, the current generation of console, I'm just like, great, but who has one?
Yeah, no one. And there's no
In fact,
reason to get one.
In fact, that can be a running theme for most of the announcements for the current console generation that we get to in this E3.
Not one
Great.
of these has actually, through this whole presentation, not one game said it was going to be Series X exclusive or
PS5 exclusive.
PS5 exclusive, because it was always PS4 and PS5 or Series X and Series S. Or whatever I want to call it.
It's Xbox and whatever the last gen Xbox was.
Yeah. The Project Scorpio or whatever it was. Next game, Party Animals, is a janky PvP brawler thing with stuffed toys.
Yay.
Let me see.
Didn't really know what to make of it.
Yeah, it looks a little weird. It looks like a game called Human Fall Flat, except as a PvP brawler instead of a weird puzzle platformer. Hades is getting an Xbox port. Moving on, Somerville, some sort of adventure platformer post-apocalyptic thingy.
I see.
Don't know about it too much. A dude is trying to save his family from the giant evil spikes in the sky. Right, here's a game we can get salty about. Halo Infinite.
Yeah, the game that they thought they were ready to launch
Last
in
year.
No, but I think it was earlier than last year. I think they were ready to try and crap that thing out.
Until they
in
realized that
2019.
it was basically Mr. Potato Head, the first-person shooter.
Yeah, they were ready to crap that thing out in 2019.
Yeesh. It still looks dated, but at least people look like people now.
Oh no, it was 2020. They were ready to crap that thing out November 10th, 2020.
Yeah. So yeah, you got a new AI lady to talk your ear off because didn't Cortana go nuts and die or something? I don't know.
I don't know, but
I didn't play the last Halo, but the Renegade AI thing's been a lingering plot thread with Cortana for a while, even in the books.
Yeah, so,
no, it's dates back to Marathon.
yeah.
Like, that's where they started the rampancy plot line. They started at a Marathon before Cortana was even thought of.
Yeah, and it carries over, and you can see totally not a Marathon AI communicating with the other AI about to go rampant in all the games. So we don't know what Cortana's deal is because I haven't played the last game.
Well, she's apparently dead now, so yeah. Spoilers, I guess.
No, I have no intention of playing it.
Alright, they showed a little bit of the multiplayer. It looks like Halo multiplayer, basically, except
I hated what I saw in that trailer.
it looked like they were trying to channel a bit of Unreal in there with the whole narrator thing.
They cut out what makes it Halo by including the stupid Reach hero powers up to 11 again.
I'm not familiar with those.
Okay, so the little jumping around and doing special moves and deploying equipment and garbage, that stuff in past Halo games might be a one-time use map equipment pickup that you could get by running around the map. But Reach, and it looks like this game from this trailer, make this baseline, and everybody can just do them whenever with a small cooldown, and that's just not Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Halo multiplayer is a very specific type of feel to it, and that ain't it.
Yeah, it looked more like Unreal than Halo, honestly. So that's that.
I like
Apparently,
Unreal, but
Unreal is good, but it's not Halo.
well, yeah, I also can go and play Unreal when I want to play Unreal.
Yeah, if I want to play Unreal, I'll go play Unreal. So apparently it's going to be a holiday release, that one. Right.
It's never coming out.
More Salt, Diablo 2 Remaster.
I really don't know what to think about Diablo 2 Remaster because number one, it is the right decision for them to not to tinker with the numbers, to just leave them as they are, which is what they said they're doing. However, I also don't want it to play as, the Manjor Amazon, for instance.
She still looks like my my second grade maths teacher.
Yeah, I don't want to play as Manjaw Amazon. Hopefully we can... Well, no, it's a Blizzard game. You can't mod that.
Like,
No.
to my absolute emasculation, that Amazon looks more manly than I do. Like, how am I supposed to cope with that?
So,
Like,
I'm still waiting, though. Like, everything they've showed so far, they've said, yeah, they're not messing with the numbers. The game looks pretty now. It's fine. I'm still waiting for that Sword of Damocles to drop. Because you know it's
Yeah.
hanging there.
They did say it's going to be a separate release, and that's all good and everything, but Warcraft 3 Reforged is still fresh in our brains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
we
it's
know
Blizzard.
how the song goes.
Yeah, they can't not screw with it.
You're
Like-
Blizzard. We know what you're going to do.
You couldn't even leave Burning Crusade alone.
They put a character boost to 60 in when they released TBC Classic.
Yep. Also, paid mounts.
They couldn't stop themselves.
All right. So yeah. Next, Plague Tale Requiem. It's apparently set in New South Wales now.
I've heard good things about the first one. I have not played it. I'm a
seems
little
like
worried
very
about
bleak
it.
and depressing, and people seem to like that.
It seems like something that would be bleak and depressing is sometimes up my alley, but it is just, it gives me weird red flags that I can't put a finger on.
Is it the Rat Tsunami?
No, it's I know it doesn't make any sense, but I get woke vibes from it despite knowing nothing about it.
Hmm.
Although that may
Maybe.
just be associating any third-person adventure game with a story as being woke these days.
Yeah, third-person action game or adventure game, bleak, depressing storyline. It's pretty much prime territory.
Watch it all be an allegory for anxiety or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is an allegory for mental illness these days. Like
Yes.
they should just pass a law saying thou shalt not ever again make a game about mental illness, because otherwise every game ends up being about mental illness.
Yeah, you think you're being original and deep, but you're not.
No, it's
Stop
just this is just cruise control. This is the equivalent of Oscar bait in
Mm.
gaming. It's just cruise control for plaudits from Jeff Keighley's cronies.
Yeah. But as for the Rat Tsunami, I would have thought that was ridiculous until maybe 3 months ago. When we saw that exact thing play out in New South Wales.
I thought it was a Dishonored game at first,
I thought it was Dishonored as well, actually. Yeah.
because they did that already.
They also did the Rat Tsunami,
They-
yeah.
Yeah, they did the Rat Plague. So, yeah, you're not original.
Next is Far Cry 6. With a rather cringy, upbeat trailer for the Xbox One. It has an attack chicken.
Great.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm feeling like the bad guy should be played by Morgan Freeman, though. I don't know why.
Change his face a little bit and give
He
him gray
kinda
hair,
look-
maybe.
He kind of
Like-
looks like Morgan Freeman, but
Like a younger Morgan Freeman, yeah.
that's not really the character that we're talking about here.
No.
I think he would be miscast.
Alright, next is everyone's favourite poo harvesting simulator, Slime Rancher. Gets a sequel.
Still haven't played that.
It's full of poo.
It's been
I
on my
skipped
wish
it on
list forever, but
Yeah, skip it on the sale.
yeah,
It's a bit woke, but I think it's acceptable levels of woke.
I don't think there are acceptable levels of woke.
Just don't read the emails in the game and you'll be fine.
Good grief! Why do people have to do this?
All right, next is a what is it called? Shredders. It's open world snowboarding.
Well, that game always has to exist.
It always does, but
I've never met anybody who plays it, but it has
Yeah.
to exist.
like Ubisoft did, I think it was The Peak a few years ago. This looks exactly the same.
The last snowboarding game I played, period, I think was on the N64.
SSX Tricky.
That was on the PS2.
No, I can't
Oh,
remember.
shit,
No,
hang on.
SSX was on the PS. SSX was on the PS2. SSX Tricky was on the Xbox or something, wasn't it?
I
don't
can't
remember.
honestly remember. Details.
Anyway,
All right. Next is Atomic Heart, which is kind of a third-person shooter with a kind of a atom punk vibe and kung fu fembots. I have no idea what was going on in this game trailer, and I kind of want to play the game to find out.
I feel like I've seen it advertised before at one of these things, but I don't remember clearly. and I wasn't inspired. Honestly, being not inspired pretty much describes my reaction to almost everything.
That's basically E3 in a nutshell, really, isn't it? Next is Replaced, which is a point-and-click adventure, maybe? Platformer adventure. Very weird pseudo 3D pixel art. Actually, no, that's not quite true. They've just used 3D models and put pixel art textures on a lot of it. But it looks pretty. We have details on the next update for Grounded, which I really enjoyed. It adds the spider boss. That's the biggest detail. Actually, no, the thing they made the most fuss about in the trailer was that you can sit down now. But,
Really?
yeah.
That was made by the Pillars of Eternity guys, wasn't it?
Grounded?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember. Let me see.
I think it was.
I'll ask the internet.
Yeah, looks like it was.
Okay, there you go. But that's the survival adventure game where you're tiny and in the backyard.
Yeah.
So I like.
Yeah,
that.
I was sort of a bit startled by that because I saw it and everybody is talking like it's something that was well established as a game people played, and I'm like, I never heard of this.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. I've talked about it on the show before. This is the one with the where you can turn the accessibility features to have all the spiders turn into blobs with googly eyes.
Yeah, that was the only thing that made me recognize it, was that I remembered you talking about that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll go back to that game. Like when I played it, it was still fairly early days. So they're keeping up a good pace of content if they're putting that out very soon. Next, they made a quick announcement.
Oh, this one's sus.
No, you're not allowed to say that. You're just not Australian.
Because it's owned by Microsoft now. Totally sus.
Brits say it as well.
Brits also say it, yeah. Americans
in
sus.
fact, are the only ones that don't. The only situation in which they say sus is in the context of this game. They shall not be named.
Yes.
And nobody calls it Among Us. Everybody calls it Amogus.
Why? Stop it.
I don't know. I have no idea where that comes from. I just keep seeing it.
Yeah.
I've seen Among Us sometimes. I'm quite partial to that
That's
one.
a Pokemon.
It reminds me of the Pika Man.
So yeah, they've got 15 player lobbies coming, and they've got more content in the pipeline for that. Yay! All right, here's a game I actually had to do a little bit of research on afterwards. I watched it firstly so I could figure out how to pronounce it. It's Eiyuden Chronicle, 100 Heroes.
Oh, I thought it said Euclidean.
Nope, Eiyuden. It looks like Ys, honestly, when I first watched it. So that got me looking at it, see if it was actually an Ys game. What it actually is a Kickstarter game and a spiritual successor to Suikoden. Suikoden being one of those series that people have told me in the past to go play.
Yeah, but as we've learned with Kickstarter spiritual successors, that is not always indicative of the spiritual successor.
Yeah.
Usually just disappointment embodied.
It does look like it's going to take the crown for unnecessarily large playable cast of this show. Considering there's a Tales game in this.
All subject to permadeath?
Probably.
Because that's sort of Suikoden's thing.
That's Suikoden's thing, yeah. So 100 heroes, see how many of them are actually playable. There's also what looks to be a platformer or possibly a brawler tied to it as well, called Eiyuden Chronicles Rising.
Why can't things stay put? Why do they always have to rise?
Why can't they
That seems to
sink?
be a thing lately.
Here's something that looks like it's going to sink. The Ascent.
Well.
The
Ascent is going to sink. I just got done complaining about things rising all the time, and you give me Ascent.
I'll give you the Ascent, which is future dystopian ARPG. That's about all we can really tell about it. All right.
Looks 2D from the box art.
What, Eiyuden or the Ascent?
The Ascent.
No, it's 3D.
Okay.
But yeah, it's your kind of isometric view ARPG. Next game, Age of Empires 4. I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I'm skeptical, but mainly I'm skeptical because nobody does strategy anymore.
They
Like, nobody does RTS.
they try to, and then they always veer off in the wrong direction and ruin it.
Well, at some point, somebody must have established as part of, like, I don't know, marketing science wisdom that you can't sell an RTS game anymore or something. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
That
How.
was a prominent piece of knowledge that was floating around maybe 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, but who originated it? Like,
Not
why?
a clue.
Because they basically haven't made an RTS since, like, StarCraft 2.
Yeah, basically.
Like, remember what happened the last time they made Command and Conquer?
Yeah, they ruined it.
No, they didn't. There was not another Command and
Well,
Conquer.
actually-
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, there was. It's on Steam, and it's a
No.
nice big bundle of all their past hits. And it's
They didn't-
good.
That's right. That was a great game.
I didn't make that.
I'm counting it because it
Xerox.
washes away the bad taste.
There was no Command and Conquer. There was no Command and Conquer 4. There was no Command and Conquer Mobile WTFery. No, none of this happened. You're lying, Vol. It never happened.
I never played 4, so I don't know why it's bad.
Yeah, so, yeah, StarCraft 2 did great, partly because it was StarCraft, but also partly because it was, classic strategy. We need more of that, but my
Age of
biggest-
Empires, I would be happy to get some more classic Age of Empires, but the Age of Empires games have been remastered so well that I don't really know what the point is.
Yeah, 1 and 2 are perfectly playable with their remastered tapes. So is 3, but don't play 3 because 3 is awful.
I own 3, I've never installed it. I don't even know why I bought it, or if I bought it,
For the,
or if I acquired it some other way.
I think I've gotten a
And-
couple of copies of 3, and I swear one of them just kind of materialized.
Man, you guys are making me depressed because my RTS franchise doesn't have a hope even of a long shot rebirth and being okay.
Which
Oh,
one?
what are you
Command-
complaining about? My favorite RTS was Dark Reign. Did you see
my
what they did
heart.
to that?
Ah!
Did you see what they did to Dark Reign?
I choose not to because it was awful. It was there was Dark Reign 2, and they put it onto the same engine they did a Dune game with.
But why?
Both Dark Reign and that Dune game were terrible.
Yes, they were, but I liked the first one.
The first one was fantastic, but why you do that? You hit me right in the feels.
Because that was the horse that I was riding when StarCraft came out.
But,
And I lost that bet, but
I was also riding that horse, but
I did not deserve what happened to my game of choice.
I do actually have it, Dark Reign 2 around somewhere still. And the original, come to think of it. I've got to dig it out.
Yeah, I don't know where I left my disc. It's got to be
But,
around somewhere.
I believe you can actually buy them both on GOG as well. If you really want to see how awful the
I
sequel
don't.
is.
I just want to live in blissful ignorance.
But the other good strategy series was Dawn of War. The first one was fantastic, and then it's like...
I still reinstall the first one and play it every couple of years
I
or
used to
so.
start playing around with the mods. People have gone ridiculous with them.
Well, the thing is that I like the classic layout.
Mm-hmm.
Provided that I'm not playing with another human being who is playing Necrons, and provided that there are no Sisters of Battle or Dark Eldar involved, I'm quite happy with the way it is.
I wouldn't have minded the Sisters of Battle of Dark Eldar if they were actually balanced.
No, they're just designed to be better than all the other races, much like the Necrons.
Yes. Except the Necrons are still kind of balanced.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're not.
But they're
They-
not as horrendously broken.
They're not. The only reason that you can get away with Necrons is because in online play, which is what they balance for, the Necrons aren't as unbalanced because they're so slow.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing solo and you just want to go nuts, the Necrons will be more powerful because you can make a bigger army than any other race. Simply put,
You can exceed
because you
your
can
block
just-
cap.
yeah, you just max everything out, kill everybody, max everything out again, and then raise all the bodies.
Yeah, that is how you Necron.
Except that makes you stronger than
But then you
everyone else.
had Dawn of War 2 came out, and it wasn't a strategy.
It wasn't bad. But it wasn't Dawn of War, and it wasn't really good either. It was just
Yeah.
okay. Like I had a bit of entertainment out of playing, and it was interesting.
If they sold it as another name and not as Dawn of War, I think it would have done a lot better, and people would have enjoyed it a lot more. And then you had Dawn of War 3, which is kind of a middle ground between the two and pleases absolutely nobody.
I never played it because I didn't trust them after the betrayal that was
Oh,
Dawn of War 2.
it's bad. It's really bad.
It's like you had your chance. You had your chance and you betrayed me.
Yeah. So Age of Empires 4 could be good as long as they aim towards like what made Age of Empires 2 good, not 3. Skip 3. 3 was bad. I mean, the only other things we know is it's set in the 1400s and you can run around with Joan d'Arc. Because, 1400s.
Why would you set it in a particular era? That's not Age of Empires.
No, it's usually set over a wide era. Several eras, usually.
That's really strange.
Yeah.
But they did that with AoE 3 as well, didn't they? They
Yeah, they
set
narrowed
it
it
in the
down
Age of
to-
Discovery or something.
Yeah. The colonial period well, actually not even that, half the colonial period, if that. It was a very, very narrow focus.
But now colonialism is verboten now.
It's verboten, yes. Can't even show pictures of the Queen anymore. I'm not kidding, actually. That happened at Oxford. Right, next game. Outer Worlds 2 put up a very self-aware trailer, and all it does is...
I enjoyed that trailer. It was the only time I smiled during the entire process of reviewing E3 stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's like, here is this trope, and here is another trope, and it's the trope we do every time. It was still incredibly on the nose, but I enjoyed it. Doesn't say anything about the game, really. It's just that the sequel is coming.
Well, I was desperate for something to keep my sanity at that point.
Yeah. I liked the first Outer Worlds, but it always felt like they kind of half-assed a lot of stuff. They didn't take things as far as they really should have. And because of the way they put the world together, instead of it being one big world, it was a whole bunch of smaller playfields. Everything felt very restricted.
So, like going back to old Monster Hunter.
Kinda, yeah. It's a good way to put it, actually. Going back to old school Monster Hunter after playing World. So, after playing, Fallout 3 for New Vegas and all that, it's going back to a much smaller field with the same mechanics. But, yeah. Beyond that, though, I really enjoyed a lot of Outer Worlds. Next, Microsoft Flight Sim. It's pretty.
Who plays those? Like, I've never actually met somebody
There's a
who plays
big
those.
audience,
But
apparently.
yeah, they must be tons of people.
The opossum plays those.
I guess it's people just like to jump in a plane and fly around and explore the entire planet. But there is a smudge on the prettiness of Flight Sim, and that is the Top Gun crossover. Why?
Why
Not
would
only
you
is
do
this...
that? I guess that this is something to do with the demographics that play it, probably.
maybe, people's dads.
Yeah, it's because it's all dads who remember Top Gun fondly as the best movie of all time or whatever.
And not as the questionably homoerotic mess that it was.
I've never seen it. I have no idea.
It's Tom Cruise, and that's enough reason for me to hate it. But, yeah. It did, however, give us Hot Shots, which is Charlie Sheen being silly and ridiculous.
I did enjoy Hot Shots.
Yeah. If we have a Hot Shots crossover in Flight Sim, I expect chihuahuas everywhere. Make it happen, Microsoft. Anyway, next is Forza Horizon 5. So, aside from Mike Brown turning up and spurging over a car, as is tradition for Forza, it was like...
Grief, he carried on something wicked. I thought that people had stopped doing those fake scripted
Nope.
playthroughs, but no.
Nope.
Forza still carries on the tradition proudly every year without butter melting in their mouth.
It wasn't as bad as previous years because you didn't get too much chatter from the people actually playing the game, but it was like over and over again there was this nice scene. It's South America, it's Mexico, it's beautiful. Take a look at this. Here's some dickheads in cars.
It was pretty much... I thought it was all Mexico. I thought that was the point.
Yeah, it is. The whole thing is Mexico. They'd show this beautiful, serene landscape and say how realistic it is. They've mapped it off a real terrain. And then they have some dickheads in cars driving all over it, ruining it.
So people normally object to this.
Yes. They also showed off a new feature called Game Lab, which essentially means we have put Trackmania into Forza now.
Well, I mean, if you want an actual game,
Well, you can't play Trackmania anymore. It's an Ubisoft license.
yeah. Well, you also can't play Forza without it, so because
Yeah.
there's nothing to do.
So it's silliness. It's, you know, bowling with cars and whatnot. And
Yeah,
other
I have
nonsense.
no trouble imagining that there are a lot of people that play whatchamacallit? I have no trouble imagining that there are a lot of people who play the flight simulators, but
Mhm.
I actually do have a lot of trouble imagining people that play Forza games.
Yeah. Well, this is
Because-
Forza Horizon, as opposed to Forza. Well, Forza.
Yeah, the Forza that's an actual game.
Yeah. Forza Horizon is here's a landscape and just go and faff about in the car for a while. Last time it was in Australia, this time it's in Mexico. Just go
Australia.
and faff around. Off you go. Next up we had Phil Spencer turned up to say nothing really.
To look just kind of stiff-necked and
Because
awkward.
here's Phil Spencer.
That's
Go
what he
away,
does.
Phil Spencer.
He always looks super awkward,
He does, doesn't he?
and he's got no neck.
He did
He
drop,
just
however,
pops
that
straight
there
onto his
is-
shoulders.
Yeah. He did drop that there is a Fable game in the works, though.
There's always a Fable game in the works
Yeah, but why, though?
because someone's got to do what Molly do.
Yeah, Todd's doing that quite well, I think.
The thing is that I don't know that Molyneux realizes that he's lying, but I'm fairly confident that Todd does.
Yeah, Molyneux, I think, is just he got big ideas and absolutely no sense of scale to bring them down to a sellable product. Todd's just lying. Next and final for the Microsoft presentation is Redfall, a new IP from Bethesda.
This looked awful.
I'm not sure what to make of it. It's like
Which one is this? You're going to have to give me more than the
this
name.
is the
because
one
none
with
of them just mean
the
anything.
girl with the enormous hair and the vampires.
The one that screams like, we're going to make this so woke you guys don't even know.
Oh yeah. If everyone was wearing magenta at this point, it wouldn't have surprised me.
I think their powers and stuff are all purple though, and
Hers
magenta.
are.
Yeah, like oh my goodness.
Yeah, purple powers isn't a huge thing on its own, but just everything about it just says,
Yeah, it struck me as a game that's made by some woke hipster who wants to make a game and has absolutely no talent.
It's not just that either. It's also has that smacking of a lot of games that come out now. There's a couple further down the list as well, which have the same theming, where it's this. It feels like Hello Fellow Kids. It's like some 60-year-old man who's making this game, thinking this is what kids think are cool.
But the thing is that they are being made by 60-year-old men. They're being made by like San Francisco hipsters who are out of touch with the rest of reality.
Ah, so aliens from the planet Zog. Then it's about the same in effect. So yeah, it's just got that whole feeling that it's just off. I mean, I guess Scott Pilgrim did it, and that's
It was cringe when Scott
it's
Pilgrim did
cringe.
it as
Yeah,
well.
but it was deliberately cringe when Scott Pilgrim did it.
I can never tell when things are meant to be deliberately cringe. I think that the whole humor replaced by irony thing is one of the worst things about modern culture.
Completely agree. So yeah, that was Xbox. For the most part, they shut up and just showed a whole bunch of games. They didn't do anything silly like, you know, swing a car from a ceiling again this year. Although,
Well, I
Because in a way, I'm
consider
kinda
that
sad-
to be more sort of an EA thing.
yeah. Who did do that? Was it EA or was it Forza?
I have no idea.
I can't remember.
Forza does all kinds of silly crap as well, so
Yeah. It's equal odds of this, whoever did that. I mean, it's a lost part, I suppose, of what used to make E3 interesting is all this ridiculous nonsense they do on the shows and on the stages, but
they would always introduce some celebrity that nobody in the target demographic knew.
yeah, EA was great for that.
Yeah.
They still are, actually. I think they're going to do it again this year with the new FIFA. Because they do it every year with the new FIFA.
Yeah, I mean one year they brought in a footballer who was actually really well known, and then one year they brought in Jose Mourinho, and I'm like, the only people that know who he is are the people that follow the Champions League, right?
I remember that, because you had Jose Mourinho on the stage and all these people in the various E3 chats just saying, who the hell is this?
Because he's exclusively a non-English speaking part of Europe figure for the most part. I mean, he did manage Chelsea for a while, but I think after that he more or less ran Inter Milan, and he ran. Did he go to Real Madrid? I can't remember. But European football teams, and you're having him speak to an audience composed entirely of Americans, and he was a manager, not a player. So he's not a celebrity.
Yeah.
No, he was always a manager, more or less.
Yeah.
That was his thing. He was a very good manager, generally speaking, but yeah, he's only famous amongst diehard football fans.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that was Xbox. Next, we buzz on to Nintendo, who also gave a fairly decent showing.
They're just packed with
It was packed,
individual
but it was sort of bland.
A lot of it was very quick fire too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna have to blitz through Nintendo because there's so many quick mentions of games in this one.
Well, most of my notes for these are maybe 1 or 2 words anyway. So first we got this obligatory Smash announcement. It's Kazuya from Tekken. He was throwing a bunch of corpses off cliffs. There you go.
That is one of the least interesting Smash announcements that I've ever seen, and I am usually not very interested in them.
The highlight of it was Kazuya trying to throw Kirby off a cliff. That was it, because it doesn't work. You can't throw Kirby off a cliff. Next, Life is Strange True Colors. I don't care.
Don't care.
They really, really wanted us to care about Life is Strange, I gotta tell you.
This year they did. I'm sure someone likes Life is Strange, but I don't.
My sister.
I cannot care.
The basic story has, the bones of something compelling there. It's just that the story is told by people who don't tell compelling stories.
It's psychic hipsters.
Yeah, that's the problem. The problem is that what is digestible to the broader audience is sort of like wish fulfillment isekai fantasy. We've seen this sort of demonstrated in real by the whole isekai boom, right? But Life is Strange is the sort of game made by people who don't play games.
They've got a story.
It's not meant to be fun. It's like, I've got this totally cool story I want to tell for my own benefit.
Yeah, it's not the only game that falls under that category this year, by the way, but we'll come to that. So yeah, I just can't care about Life is Strange. Great to the people who enjoy it, but I just can't care. Next, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's looks like a generic third-person action game.
Yeah, generic cash in on the Marvel boom.
That said,
it's tailing off.
That said, though, I still want to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked passingly interesting for somebody like me who doesn't give a shit about Marvel.
Yeah. But unlike 90% of the games on the offer for this year, it looks like it actually had some sort of personality.
I didn't have the same impression. Like, when you say personality, I see the same generic MCU continual stream of half-assed wisecracks.
There you go.
That will become extremely old after the first 10 minutes.
Yes. So yeah, I'm still going to play it though, because it looks like it actually could be an enjoyable time. I know
that depends whether or not it turns out to actually be a game.
That's a bit of an if.
There's just not a good record for Marvel games.
No, because we will talk about the other Marvel game later. Next, because Nintendo fired quick fire, Worms Rumble getting a Switch port. Don't know why this is still a thing. Stria Ascending, because everything is ascending. Hand-drawn JRPG. Don't know much about that. 2 Point Campus, it's Theme Hospital but in academia. So, regular academia. Alright, game people actually do care about. Monkey Ball Banana Mania.
Everybody was talking about this one.
It looks like it's a remaster of the original Monkey Ball.
Yeah. I think it's a remaster of Monkey Ball 1. It might be 1 and 2.
Might be 1 and 2. They weren't particularly clear on that. But
But,
Monkey
okay.
Ball was
Monkey
an
Ball.
old franchise. It was PS1. Was there any on PS2?
It was on GameCube.
It
was
must
on
have,
GameCube at one point,
it
yeah.
must have been on PS2 because they said that that's 20 years old, didn't they? Which means that it came out in the aughts.
Yeah, okay.
So the PS2 was already around.
PS2. Yeah, I do remember one
Yeah,
being on
PlayStation
PS1,
2,
PS2.
Super Monkey Ball was PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube.
Okay. What was the one on PS1 then I'm thinking of? Anyway, so yeah, it's Monkey Ball. Everyone likes Monkey Ball. It's sweet, it's cute, and it's going to make you absolutely insane. Because you know they're going to tie the 6-axis to it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's not called that anymore, though, is it?
Well, it is on the PlayStation still. I think.
I don't know what it's called for Nintendo. I think it's just their motion sensor.
Just the Joy-Con, yeah. Joy-Con motion or whatever they want to call it. Okay, next is Mario Party Superstars. It's just a big old mashup of all the Mario parties previously, with online play. So you can piss off your online friends as well.
You don't just piss people off with Mario Party. You ruin friendships.
You destroy friendships.
Yeah, this is probably, you know, the same sort of eldritch power they're tapping into when they manage to get somebody to drive a car through a Taco Bell in Smash.
Yeah.
Like Mario Party just has this effect on even casual players. Its power goes far beyond even the crazy professional players. Anybody that plays Mario Party with their friends will hate their friends by the end of that play session. Just you wait. If we get this game and play it together, we will all hate each other. Show's over.
Oh, there's more to it than that. There is actually another element of pure genius on on Nintendo's part here. And that is, imagine what Mario Party minigames will do to a 6-axis, to a Joy-Con.
Oh no.
The Joy-Con
Yeah.
market is going to go through a boom.
Yeah. So say goodbye to your joysticks. Because that drift is coming for you. Alright, next is just a quick nugget, which was Metroid Prime 4, still in the works. Then we got something people actually care about. Metroid 5 Dread. It's its actual mainline Metroid.
Yep.
And it looks like Metroid. It's side-scrolling platform.
They don't recognize it as mainline Metroid though. They
call it
consider
Metroid
their
5.
spin-off. No, they described it as being a separate kind of Metroid game because it seemed to be focused on more sort of like survival horror type mechanics.
Chirpy robots. So it's Metroid, and it looks like Metroid, and it's not Metroid Other M.
Well, you say it looks like Metroid, but it doesn't look like any Metroid that's been made in the last decade to me.
That's because there hasn't been a Metroid in the last decade.
Except for that remake. of
Other
2.
M.
No, that was older. When was that?
We've only been doing the show a decade, and we had the argument about Other M on this show.
Crap. It feels like
Yeah,
Other M was so long ago.
That was Wii.
That was on the Wii. When did Metroid Other M come out? Either way, it was awful. 2010. So it's 11 years.
Anyway.
So, yeah. I'll play that. It's more Metroid. Next, Just Dance. Next.
Do people actually buy those, or is
Yes.
it just like
keep-
bots on Twitch?
They keep making them. Some people must buy
Someone's
them.
got to be buying them.
Yeah, but you say they keep making them, but the only cost involved in making them is to license a bunch of songs, which
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily cost that much because they're always old songs.
They've got to put new box art on it in nauseating colours.
No, they'll just find a piece of stock photography that they've got from the last marketing thing that they didn't use, and then put that color filter over it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Just Dance games, they cost nothing to make and they cost nothing to market. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason for them not to make them. If like 5 people buy them, then it'll pay itself off.
So, yeah, it's a no investment, free cash thing. All right. Cruise and Blast. It's a colourful car racing game.
Yeah, I think it's part of a series that used to exist. I can't remember.
I remember cruising USA on the 64.
That's going back a ways. The Cruisins. Yeah. Next is DBZ Kakarot, which seemed to kept popping up all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought that they would just lay that one to rest because it was so unpopular, but
Yeah, so it's getting a Switch port, and it's including everything up to the Boo Saga.
I guess in practice it wasn't actually unpopular in terms of the market that it was trying to reach. It was just disappointingly shallow in terms of gameplay, but most of the people that played it, they weren't really there for the gameplay. They were there to be Goku.
They were there to be Goku. And this is the game that most lets you be Goku. So yeah, it's got its fans. People like Kakarot. Mario Golf Super Rush. It's Mario Golf. I thought this was already out, actually.
Yeah, I haven't played a Mario Golf game since the Game Boy Color.
Yeah. Next is a little nugget from Monster Hunter Stories 2. It's basically the same trailer they show over at Capcom, which is... What happened to Lute? He got nergied.
Yeah, like that seemed like a pretty grim start, to be honest.
Like,
So I only saw the Capcom bit on it. I don't remember much about the Nintendo version, but
Nintendo just played that same trailer.
yeah, that was pretty grim. It was pretty grim. It's like, oh yeah, they got their shit pushed in by Nergigante, so they're not here anymore.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
wow, that's dark.
Wait, he's dead? Nergy
Well, they
killed
never
him?
say that.
No, but he got the Disney death.
But he got Nergigante, and not many people come out of an encounter with Nergigante intact.
No. Especially after I'm playing, now that I've finished Leighton versus Wright, I'm starting to play stories again so I get caught up. And yeah, he's just a cute, happy kid who sounds an awful lot like Link. Like a copyright infringing amount like Link. So, yeah.
I mean, I think he deserves better than being murdered by Nergigante. After all, he put up with Naviru for years.
Yeah, Naviru did not get Nergigante.
Which is
though.
basically should qualify him for sainthood.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I did recall the issues with Stories 1 right the first time. Go watch the anime if you want the story. Especially Cheval's story is like...
Does the anime tell the story properly? Like, I don't know how.
Yeah, because the game it's like,
now.
you have the intro, and then the Naga Cougar attacks the town, kills Cheval's mum, and Cheval is like, immediately, I'm edgy now. And then it skips a year.
Yeah, he turns into Sephiroth.
He basically turns into, kid redhead Sephiroth. Then he
No, he's just
disappears in the story for like half the game, and then comes back, and now he's ultra edgy now.
He's just a big old ball of pent-up rage.
Yeah. Whereas Lute is having happy fun time monster adventures in the snow and getting stomped on by a Lagombi. And Naviru is avoiding all karma. Naviru deserves to be stomped just by existing. He's got a point for existing, I know, but he's a little annoying.
He as the resident comedy relief. He doesn't really avoid all karma because he does end up as the butt of every joke, humiliation, and act of violence available.
Yeah, that is true. In the games, he avoids it.
Oh,
Well, most of it. Most of it. I think Ratha actually takes over a lot of that once he comes back into the story. So he becomes a Rathalos' chew toy.
There are better occupations.
There are, most definitely. Anyway. WarioWare, get it together. It's been a while since we saw a WarioWare game.
I try to play them, and they're cute for like 5 minutes. And
Well,
I hate them.
aren't the game loops basically like supposed to be like less than 30 seconds or something?
Micro games,
Yeah.
about 8 to 10 seconds in a lot of cases.
And you just do this over and over again?
Basically, yeah, to work your way through a story in some cases. The story is usually something stupid, like the last one, I think it was Wario wants to start his own games company and ropes his friends into doing all the work for him.
Wario has friends?
Well, friends is probably the wrong word.
Does he see them as friends? Do they see him as a friend? I don't know how this relationship works. He's
Tolerators.
Wario.
Yeah, tolerators is probably the best word. People who are just around and just put up with his nonsense. So yeah, that's that. If we're getting WarioWare on the Switch, though, that means that I have hope to get a Rhythm Heaven game on the Switch, which I would much prefer.
Why are those two things connected?
Same studio.
Oh, I see.
And in a lot of cases, same art style. And in even more occasions, sometimes the characters overlay.
The figure of Wario just looms so large in my mind that I can't actually place him in context with something else.
Yeah. Thankfully, Wario has not jumped over to the Rhythm Heaven games.
Yet. I mean, we had our year of Luigi. When's the year of Wario going to be?
Oh, it's going to be a fart-filled year. Right, next is a game we can actually get some meat out of. Shin Megami Tensei 5.
I can't get any meat out of it. Like, it
can.
looks like every other Shin Megami Tensei game on the planet.
It does.
So it looks like they've mashed together. Oh, okay, SMT5's out. The protagonist is a guy. Get over it, Reddit.
Yeah, don't go to Reddit.
No, they're going to turn him into some sort of like gender
They're
fluid.
They're way ahead of you. Because his guyliner gives Suichi Saihara a run for his money. Like, he's got some serious guyliner going on, but all the official material says it's a boy.
He's a dude, he just got weird ideas about makeup.
And his animations can be pretty effeminate in that trailer. But
intersectional gender theory hasn't got purchase in Japan yet. You're not going to get your dream character out of him.
No, he is just
dead here by the time it takes root over there, if it does at all.
He's just androgynous because he's probably the only playable character. So
he's just ticking two boxes at once here.
Yeah. So get over it, Reddit.
But beyond that nonsense, it looks alright.
I'm actually glad I don't have much to say on it because I just want SMT to be SMT. I just want the world to end and to go collect demons and mash them together and beat up other demons.
Yeah, like the first lines are go to a destroyed Japan. And yeah, this is SMT5.
It looks like Mad Max to me.
It doesn't it?
It's Shin Megami Tensei Mad Max edition.
Although Nocturne kind of had the same sort of thing going on too.
Yeah, Nocturne had a lot of sort of civilized regions.
Yeah,
there was
Japan
much less of
ball now.
There's much less of like the ruined cities type of thing.
Yeah,
there
was ruined bits, but there was also intact bits.
Yeah, but the UI made me okay with it. It's a Switch game. It looks like it'll work portable as well. The last mainline game was a DS game, so I guess they don't want to move too far from that with the mainline franchise.
Yeah.
It looks like a cross between Persona 5 and Strange Journey of all things.
Why would you want to involve Strange Journey in anything in any way?
Yeah, but the way they presented it didn't seem that bad. With all UI,
you came out of Strange Journey seeming traumatized.
I've purged most of it from my memory, so don't worry about it.
It's like I'm worried you're going to have like a flashback at an awkward moment, like when you were in Nam.
Yeah, Strange Journey hurt, but I mean, it looks like more SMT, and that's exactly what I want out of SMT. Just keep doing that.
Yep. And that looks
Speaking
like
of
exactly
Suichi,
what it's going to do. Yes, speaking of Suichi.
It's just a combat pack with an expanded mini game from the third game that was the extra game the B team works on that they always tack on to the Danganronpas.
Yeah, Dimbly Dong Dong Decadence is coming out. So they're calling
It's
it
not
a 4-in-1. But
it's not actually new content. It's just a repackage.
A repackage, and yeah, they build on that board game thingy that was in 3 a bit.
Yeah. So
although it does give you super crossover powers now as well when playing it.
Well, you could do that. You could do that before.
Yeah, I didn't delve too deep into the board game because I got
the whole thing was a crossover.
There you go.
But so it's literally, unless there's new cutscenes in it and new stories, there's no new content there. But yeah, it's just a repackage.
Get it for portable Danganronpa nonsense.
Well, yeah.
If you haven't played played it before.
Yeah. If you somehow still haven't got Dupaloopa, you can buy all 3 at once now.
Yeah. Alright, next is Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater.
This was a Wii U port, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm fairly certain this one came out on the Wii U. Yeah, that's right, it did. Yeah, because I thought about buying it and didn't because it was on the Wii U.
Yeah. Fatal Frame is like one of those series that I know exists, but I've never really met anyone who actually played them.
Played a few of them.
Okay,
They're-
well, there you go.
They're okay.
Yeah, it's a horror game where you have a camera.
It's very
They're
well
gonna ex-
liked amongst that particular community. Like it's a sort of a cult classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
They were really popular originally because they forced you to get really close to the monsters and be practically defenseless until you were. So you couldn't hide from them.
You get it wrong, you get eaten.
Yeah. So
Alrighty. Next, and this is probably going to be a couple of quick fire ones. Doom Eternal, the expansion's on the Switch now.
Okay.
Tony Hawk 1 and 2's remasters getting ported to the Switch as of next week. Strange Brigade, some sort of puzzle platformer adventure co-op-y thing. Mario vs. Rabbids. I don't want to really talk about this here because it's about the only good part of the Ubisoft presser, which says all you need to know about
that's
Ubisoft.
scraping the bottom of the barrel at that point, I think.
Yeah. Although it's basically it's Mario versus Rabbids, except they've expanded the cast, expanded the mechanics, and they put some sort of edgy rabbit in there for reasons.
Are there people who actually like the Rabbids, like in and of themselves, think Rabbids are cool?
they gotta be like a
children.
decade younger than us.
I
This
enjoyed
is-
them once, just once.
But that doesn't seem to be how, like, I don't know, the marketing pitch people think of them.
They keep pushing them so hard, and poor Rayman just got completely overshadowed by them.
Or Rayman.
Did they originate in Rayman?
Yes. Yeah, the original was Rayman Raving Rabbids on the PC and the Xbox, I want to say. Where it was just a kind of a mini game crossover thing. But come the second one, Rayman was just dropped from the billing.
Yeah, he's been in a ditch for a while
That's-
now.
Really harsh.
Yeah, he came out for Rayman, those two
Origins?
and Legends, which were fantastic. And then he's disappeared again.
Yep. Put him back in his box.
There ain't no one likes that guy.
Well, maybe he should get some arms. And possibly legs, maybe a neck.
He's got all
First
the
two
other
games
bits.
Yeah. First two Rayman games were great.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. That's about all you can really say about it. It's just more Raving Rabbids versus Mario. I liked the first one, even as stupid as it was. It's like XCOM except cute and stupid. Next, speaking of cute, is Advance Wars 1 and 2 remaster. That's going to make some people really happy.
It's going to make some people really happy, but it was at this point that I started to sigh and I was like, really? Another remaster?
Another
Don't we make
remaster.
games anymore?
No, there is no more original ideas. Next is Skyward's... No, it's not. It was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity expansion. It's Zelda on a motorcycle and Hook, Chook, and Nunchucks. Keep going with that. Skyward Sword remaster. Speaking of... I mean, the story for Skyward Sword...
Which one was Skyward Sword?
That was the one with the really jank motion controls.
Right. I was at this point. I my mind sort of wandered off on a tangent, wondering about why they kept trying to push the idea of continuity in Zelda games.
I mean, someone's got to just to keep to the timeline nerds happy, or by
But
happy I mean arguing.
But everybody knows that there's no coherent timeline.
There
And
is,
that you can't make one no matter how hard you try. So stop trying.
at best, there are 6 timelines, and that's probably oversimplifying things.
I know that they tried to canonize a particular theory in one of the books that they released, but
Yeah, they put the chronology of Zelda or something. And Hyrule Warriors split the timelines into 3, and then added a new timeline for the Hyrule Warriors game. So there's another one.
I mean, why not? Everybody else is doing it.
So yeah, you've got the Zelda Game & Watch, which is Zelda 1, 2, and Link's Awakening on a teeny-weeny handheld. I mean, I guess people might want that for the novelty. I don't know exactly who that's for, honestly.
It's for collectors.
I guess. And finally, Breath of the Wild 2. If Link didn't
Okay.
screw up enough the first time, apparently he screwed up again, and now this time Hyrule is in the sky.
In another timeline.
In probably a new timeline, yes. One where Link screwed up twice. So, yeah, Breath of the Wild 2. It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming next year. And that was the
Yeah.
theme for this year, this E3. It's coming next year.
Uh,
Because nobody did anything last year. So they
Yeah,
got
like,
nothing to come this year.
every time, every delivery product delivery timeline has been set back by the span of a COVID lockdown.
Yes. So those are the two big presses. The others are all fairly small. Now, we have Ubi. And I know neither of you two watched this.
I can't, like, I was permanently scarred the time that they had those Just Dance people march across the stage as the opener.
Yeah, you
And
can't pay
Ever
me
since
to watch
then, I
Ubi.
can't watch them anymore.
This
But I
time
just feel sick.
it was two incredibly fake people standing in an incredibly fake set
From San Francisco.
from San Francisco, being fake and going, "Hello, fellow humans."
Yeah, diverse people, by the way. Diverse people. They were both brown.
Yeah, I guess.
Incredibly diverse. They were both. That's
Uh,
it. Ellipsis.
Anyway, it was.
They're just trying to ruin Fern's life.
It was painful to watch because there was so much of this presser. Like the presser was like an hour and a half long, and there was so many points where I just said, "Nut, skip, skip, skip." So
Well, what are
the
they
first-
announcing in all these skips?
Well, the first game was Rainbow Six Extraction, which apparently they've run out of ideas of
Wait, hold on. What type of game is this? Is this...
first-person shooter, team squad based. It's Rainbow
Right.
Six.
So it's classic Rainbow Six.
Yes.
Not other weird crap Rainbow Six.
Oh no, it's weird crap. Except it's classic Rainbow Six at the same time because they've run out of brown people to shoot, presumably.
I see.
Hooray! I'm going to be
Well,
racist too.
don't they normally shoot Russians or something?
Usually, yes. This time
Or
they're
like-
shooting goo zombies.
PMCs? What? Not even humans anymore?
Nope, goo zombies.
How's that a Tom Clancy game?
I don't know.
Tom Clancy is rolling over in his grave right now.
No, presumably
Like-
he's been melted down to make goo zombies at this point.
Goo zombies are people?
Maybe? They seem to be intent on capturing teammates and sticking them to a very sticky tree.
So this is that game that horror game all the girls play,
I guess.
where everything is about hanging people on hooks.
Dead by Daylight or whatever it is.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
You told me once that for some reason the player base is mostly female, and for some reason that's the only fact that's stuck in my mind about it because the only
Oh,
people
yeah.
I've seen play it are VTubers.
Yeah, I don't know why girls like it so much.
But yeah, it's hard to take seriously. I think they want it to be a mainline Rainbow Six game, but it's goo zombies. Next is not a game. It is Rocksmith Plus. It's like learn to play guitar software.
Yeah,
Can you learn to play from this guitar software?
Yes, it's actually teaching you how to play guitar properly and not Rock Band or something like that.
Well, okay, so
Like
I will grant
yeah.
Ubisoft 1 point for having actually contributed something for society.
Yes.
yeah. It's you plug in any electric guitar into your device.
I think it actually does it just by using the built-on microphones now.
That would be a little difficult.
Yeah, they'd have to
But
tune it just right.
Yeah,
I
can
don't
you
know,
imagine
technology marches on. Like
Yeah. Maybe it does all that
Voice-
calibration on its own now,
voice recognition for devices that are not the PS4 is actually quite good these days.
as long as you don't have an accent.
I've got a Kiwi accent and I've got a slight lisp, and so the PS4 doesn't recognize anything I say.
Yeah.
it says you need to plug in any electric guitar with a USB adapter.
Okay,
That'll come with the
okay.
game.
Is that a standard feature on electric guitars now? Like,
No, the game comes with the adapter.
right,
Okay.
okay.
So yeah, plus points for contributing something for the betterment of society. You have many points to get it back to zero.
Yeah, that freaking dude in the panda suit.
Yeah,
That's
you've got
a
a
lot-
lot of
there's a-
explaining to do there.
Yeah, there's a lot of paying off.
Right.
You bring in the furry contingent. This is like bringing Sonic Fox on stage, except not quite that bad.
Yeah, not quite that bad. Rainbow
Never
Six.
forget.
No, it's not. It's Riders Republic is the next game, which is Extreme Sports Hello Fellow Kids.
Why do they keep making extreme sports games? Do people play extreme sports games? Is this like a dude bro thing that I don't know about?
I don't know.
Extreme
It's,
sports were like late 90s, early 2000s, and then they died.
yeah, and now they're coming back, and this time they're putting, bloody Bridget Jones annotations over everything's and
Oh.
strapping rockets towards the equipment.
I know that when I was at university, the Extreme Sports Club was the club that everybody joined and then did nothing.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I was at university a long time ago now. So.
Yeah. So it's like snowboarding, it's got BMX, it's got fan gliding of all things, and jetpacks.
What?
Yeah.
Nobody does extreme jetpacking. That's not a thing.
No, it's not a thing, but these are proper jetpacks.
Although I heard that there was a guy in the UK who invented a really good jetpack thing and has now got a defense contract.
Okay. Maybe he's cracked it.
It was just some guy.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make a jetpack, so he made a jetpack. I think he had some purpose that he wanted to put it to, but
Mhm.
apparently it was so cool that the British Ministry of Defence were looking into contracting, getting a bunch of them for their specialist squads.
Okay, yeah. The jetpacks have always been completely impractical in terms of design, so maybe he's cracked it.
They're those water ones
Those are just cool.
They're-
Completely
they're
impractical,
required-
but cool.
that require you to be over water to use.
Yes,
Well, most of this planet is water, so
it is moist.
moist.
Yes, that's how we ruin a Jackbox game too, is by using the word moist. Anyway, Rainbow Six Siege is apparently still a thing. That's it.
Milking that one.
Which one's Siege? Is that one where people... Is that like basically Counter-Strike only Rainbow Six?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a whole bunch of little mini trailers. They showed that they're still actually making Trackmania games. They're putting Ninja Turtles into Brawlhalla, which apparently Ubisoft now owns. I thought they were in indie for the longest time. And Watch Dogs continues to insist on existing. It was at this point I actually just started skipping big swaths of content.
Is this the British one?
Watch Dogs.
Yeah. Is this the because there are a couple of iterations of that, aren't there?
Yeah, there are.
There's the American one, which is all about ragging on Donald Trump, and then there's the British one, which is all about ragging on Nigel Farage.
Yeah. Well, this one puts Aiden Von Generico into the whatever the latest one is. So yeah, like I said, this is where I really started just skipping gigantic chunks because there was massive chunks of just waffle of people with stupid coloured hair,
From San Francisco.
presumably, or France.
Well, yeah, I mean that's basically the same thing, right? Everything bad in society originates from France. So
Yeah. Got a little bit of news about Ask Greed Valhalla. They're putting out more expansions for that. They're also doing a discovery tour, which they've done previously, where it's basically a walking tour of the Assassin's Creed sets, where the producers of the game spout gigantic quotes history at you.
I don't want my history told to me by the
Not by
Ubisoft
Ubisoft.
team, please.
no, if you go to Ubisoft for history, you're going to have some issues, I'm afraid.
Yes.
Already had to doubt my official textbooks and go correct them. I don't think a video game company's going to do any better.
No. Especially one like Ubisoft, who is well known for a bit of historical revisionism here and there.
There are no minotaurs in history. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this.
It's sad.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Fate's interpretation of characters is more historically accurate than any type of historical accuracy Ubisoft claims to have.
Fates Asterius is adorable.
He's a fluffy boy.
He is the fluffy Minotaur boy. Alright, skipping. Ubisoft Film and TV is apparently a thing. I skipped that. Far Cry 6, they showed the story trailer. Meh. I mean,
It looks like every other Far Cry game at this point.
It does. It's like we're in a new Banana Republic with a new guy with a funny accent and a new clueless derp who's being thrust into the middle of things.
Although I did sort of enjoy the way the previous one went, where they were like, oh, they were the media were gloating about how this is going to be all about hating on Red America,
And it didn't do it.
and it didn't hate on Red America enough, and they were outraged.
It just went straight down the middle.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, this guy's actually a terrorist, so it doesn't actually matter what you think about his politics because he's evil.
Yeah, he's
So
very obviously evil.
Yeah, like he's just an evil person who does evil things. And yes, I know there's sort of like religious trappings around everything, but they're clearly an evil cult.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make any commentary on anybody in real life. Like even Westboro Baptist is less evil than these guys, so you don't really need to worry about the commentary.
It's so wonderfully cartoonishly evil that politics just doesn't come into it.
Well, it does if you're the game journalist. Remember they were crying they couldn't shoot every NPC that was a part of the compound or whatever?
Yes. The salt was very real.
I mean, that guy had some freaking severe issues, but that wasn't one of them.
Yeah. I mean, considering it's Ubisoft, I'm surprised they didn't just swing all the way one way politically. Because it's Ubi.
Well, I don't know. I can't get a beat on Ubi. I mean, they're French, which means they have to be wrong. But
yes, by
the way in which they are wrong can differ depending on, the season and the phase of the moon and, the usual.
What they had for
the
breakfast that
rightness of
morning.
the cheese.
Yeah. They're still going to be French at the end of the day, though.
It's acceptable targets, by the way. French are acceptable targets.
Yeah, I have no respect for the French whatsoever since they, executed their queen for the crime of what?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, dear. I mean, to be fair, chopping off heads was the fashionable thing.
Yeah, but you're supposed to levy execution as a just punishment for a crime after a trial.
Yeah.
Not have no trial, no crime, and decide to execute her because, well, she's the queen and we don't like her.
Yeah, they kind of got a bit carried away with the head chopping.
At least in Russia, they had the decency when they just executed their royals to just, send a hit squad or have the guards there mutiny.
Yeah, well, they would drag them out into the woods and kill them. They didn't act like they were doing something just. Communists never do because everything is acceptable in the name of the revolution.
Anyway.
But they didn't pretend like they were pushing justice when they were doing it. Just the revolution.
All right. Last little bit from Ubi is Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Why does this exist?
Because they want to make James Cameron a thing again. Because reasons.
This isn't Last Airbender. This is Blue People in the Jungle, by the way.
So I did not know this, looking this up when I saw this. Apparently, there has been a movie in production ever since the first movie came out, and it's just taken eons.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it was always supposed to be like a trilogy or something.
But it's been burned and rewritten and cut and rewritten again, and
This is what happens when you give an auteur control of a project.
yeah,
They
it's never coming out.
And then you have COVID, so they can sit at home with their dick in their hands all day instead of working on it.
Yeah. So this game, it looks like one generic unit action adventure, and it looks like it's going to follow the plot of the movie, except with different characters.
I say the humans were the good guys.
I think everyone in that movie was a complete dickhead.
No, I'm not saying that they weren't dickheads. I'm just saying that they're the good guys because they're human and we're better. I mean, what have those savages ever accomplished?
Head tentacles that get very disturbingly intimate with the things they ride on.
Free
What
sex.
the hell is with that?
It's absolutely gross. It's disgusting. It's vile.
I have
The
no
humans
idea
are the
what is
good guys by
going on.
merit of being the right species.
Because we don't have sex with the trees.
Is that what they're doing?
That's what it looks like they're doing.
Well, I mean, can you see any difference?
I don't know. It's like they're plugging their head into a power outlet, except with more wiggly bits. Why? Anyway, the movie was actually quite crap, by the way.
Some extremely expensive CG went into it.
Yes. Which, if you go back and watch it now, looks extremely dated.
Well, it looks like Final Fantasy Spirits Within now.
Yee. Yeah, that's bad. Speaking of, let's move on to Squeenix.
Oh, boy.
With Matt Mercer, who said maybe 5 words to the whole thing. They started off with Guardians of the Galaxy, and that took up a good chunk of their presentation.
Holy cow, they spent a lot of the time on Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I know it's a Marvel property, so it basically prints money, but holy cow!
It's because beside that, they had. What else did they have? They had Life is Strange.
They had new Final Fantasy.
Did
Yeah,
they?
they had-
They didn't really spend a whole lot of time on it.
Yeah, they had a brand
Stranger
new
of
one. at the
Paradise.
Stranger of Paradise, yes.
Yeah, the one that
Team Ninja.
And because the main character is like a sort of like a generic sort of tough dude, the media were really mad.
Of course, because he is one generic unit hero.
I just want to point out, this is the fastest I've seen a game get Dark Souls comparisons.
And this is the most times I've ever seen the word chaos said in one trailer.
Yeah, I actually wrote on my notes, take a drink every time it says chaos. And you had Garland being the big bad at the end of the thing, and he says, "No, I am chaos." God damn it. Yeah, they dusted off Garland. No, he's chaos now.
I remember Garland exclusively as the rather tragic antagonist in 8-Bit Theatre.
Yeah, but no, he's chaos now.
Cosmos has a lot to answer for.
Seriously.
Because this just seemed like persecution to me.
So yeah, it's Final Fantasy, but it's very dark, edgy, hacky slashy type fun with chaos.
This is to me the feeling I got was like if the Japanese version of Nier is Final Fantasy Boy Band Road Trip, this is like the Western version of Nier, where you have to play as a grizzled old dude.
Yeah, chaos.
And everything is serious instead of boy band.
Yes. All right, so that's that. That was actually at the end of the press. Next, we got Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which is just 1 through 6 in a bundle.
But
Look at
why?
it. Yeah.
Doesn't
Hang it up.
anybody who wants to buy those already have them like 6 times at this point? It's turning
Yes,
into
Yeah.
Skyrim
buy it
now.
again, you plebs.
I like Final Fantasy VI. I like Final Fantasy VI a lot.
Everyone likes
I
Final
don't
Fantasy
like-
6.
I don't like it for, I think, my 4th purchase, though.
No. But buy it
I've
again,
never
you
played it.
plebs.
It takes too long to play a Final Fantasy game, so I don't do it.
Yeah. We got a release date for Legend of Mana Remaster, which is Wednesday.
I'm still chewing through the prequel.
Yeah, good luck with that. It's going to take you a while.
I'm not anywhere close to done with it. I put it on hold. I'll have to restart it if I play again.
Yeah. You've got the Avengers game is still going because apparently contracts still exist, I guess. They've still got 3 more expansions on it, even though nobody actually bought the base game. The last one being Wakanda. Because, of course, there's. Although I am surprised at their choice of villain. It is Crow, who is a very obscure one. I don't know
Well, I
why he
mean,
turns into a giant fireman, though.
I'm almost sure that they're just going to start picking obscure villains so that they can basically use it as market research for what might sell.
Yeah, I
If
guess.
they want to make more movies and stuff.
Yeah, because they're kind of running out of villains. Or the big name ones.
Yeah, because I mean they're moving to like a new phase of the MCU, right?
Yep.
Or something like that. Except that none of the characters that are around now are characters that anybody gives 2 tosses about.
You've got the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom being the last big villain that I think that people really care about. But because it's a Fantastic Four movie, it's going to be awful. It's just the lore at this point, I think.
Fantastic Four aren't cool to begin with.
They're Stan Lee's, I think, first creation, and it kind of shows.
It shows, yeah.
Yeah.
They've got one-note powers that were sort of novel back when they came out.
Fairly one-note personalities.
I'm actually a big fan of very narrowly defined powers because if you don't define your powers narrowly, you get worm. But
Mm-hmm.
I think Fantastic Four might be a little bit bland.
Yeah. Although Susan Storm does have this habit of pulling additional powers out of her ass.
Of course, she's the woman.
Well, her basic power is can turn invisible, which you can't really do a whole lot with, really. So she ends up with, force fields and whatnot.
Yeah, I was about to say, doesn't she get force fields in like 90% of the media as well now?
Yeah, she does.
I think
Doctor Doom's the only thing people
they're
care about in
gonna.
that series.
I think it's going to be a rough sell, generally speaking, because I think that the extant generation not to put too fine a point of it, they like The Incredibles better. You know, the Pixar one, because they're the same characters except they're funny.
Yeah, and charming. Whereas the Fantastic Four, we've had 2 major run movies at this point, and they were both awful.
Yeah, you're not gonna win anybody with Fantastic Four except Doctor Doom's your best selling point.
Yeah, lean on Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is cool.
And you can easily overdo him too much.
They're gonna do
hammy as all get out. Yes,
they're gonna do something. They're gonna do something even more retarded. Like they'll try and make a sympathetic, woe is the villain Doctor Doom movie or something.
Yeah, they've done that. Doom's done that in the past in various stories, but it's always because he's wanting to milk people's sympathies.
It's always motivated by selfishness.
Yeah, he's kind of
Doctor Doom is never Doctor Doom is never ever a good guy. Yeah. Everything he's ever done is motivated by selfishness.
Yeah. Anywho, so that's
much like the studio.
So yeah. Next is Babylon's Fall. It's Platinum's offering. It's a action platformer adventure thing in a tower. It looks like it's Nier Automata's combat though. Kinda.
Nier Automata's combat isn't Platinum's best, but it's still a Platinum thing, so
yeah, it's sort of they kind of use that as the base point.
Yeah, if you're going for a more casual Platinum game, Nier Automata's combat works fine. I would not want it in one of their hardcore action titles.
In this case, it looks like it's got that, and it's got multiple playable characters who are running around at the same time.
Yeah, so
maybe co-op?
This looked like a more possibly casual outing with co-op. Is what I'm thinking, and what I'm kind of hoping, because I think that would be really cool to at least try. Because Platinum's been doing a few experimental things, and this could be one of those. Like they did it with Astral Chain.
Yes, I've yet to play that actually because it does look interesting. Not necessarily good, but interesting.
Yeah, so this could be more of them experimenting with it and just seeing what sticks.
Alrighty. We got 2 more to go really quick. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that I did not watch, like the PC show and all that, but there's only so many hours in the day, and so
I didn't watch the PC show because I looked at it. I'm like, huh? PC's not a company. What?
No, it's just a whole bunch of indie developers kind of got together to show a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, nothing in it jumped out to me.
Yeah, and yeah, sooner or later, if I watch enough of these, I'm going to turn to drink. So that's a reason enough to cut it out at a certain point. Next up, we've got Bandai Namco, who is very, very strange because all their content was in the pre-show.
What did they do in their actual show then?
So, the actual show was, they got talking about Dark Pictures' House of Ashes. Dark Pictures, I just do not care because it was like a movie with the occasional QuickTime event in it. You know, David Cage type dealy.
Oh, I see.
Except worse, possibly.
Wow.
And there's like 6 of these now. So they started their show. In the end of the half of the pre-show, they showed all this stuff about Dark Pictures. Then the actual show was just interviews about Dark Pictures. I got the notes here. Okay, the show's starting now. I'm going to skip the House of Ashes interview. And now the show's over.
Huh.
That was the entire actual show. But the games they showed was the next expansion for Kakarot, which is set in Future Trunks' timeline. It's that whole bit. You've got a new player for MHA 1 Justice. I mean, I liked Gentle and La Brava, but do they really belong in a fighting game?
Is that what that game is?
I thought it was like a Muso or something, but I had no idea.
No, it's the Bandai game.
Oh, so it's like Budokai. I'm trying to understand what you're trying to describe here.
It's Jump Force.
Oh.
Or every Naruto game. Or like half of the One Piece ones.
I think that you're dramatically underselling Naruto games by comparing them to Jump Force.
Yeah, I think I might be. Well, nah. They're both
Jump Force is
unbalanced.
Jump Force is a hollow shell of a game.
Yes, it is.
At least there's a decent cast in the Naruto games.
This is true.
And the content there is actually, something you can do and practice at. Because the games were made for that engine.
Yeah. Well, One's Justice is that, except My Hero Acca.
I see.
The game that's actually worth probably looking at is Scarlet Nexus.
I've been avoiding that because everybody is talking about it, and if it's bad, then I don't want to know, and if it's good, then I don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah,
So-
it's what they call brain punk, so it's edgy psychics in future post-apocalyptic nonsense.
Oh, is this the one that gave me Code Vein vibes?
Probably it's the one with the bouquets with legs. Yeah, I'm just gonna let that sink in. That's your
Oh, this one.
the basic enemy, the bouquets with legs. They actually named a bunch of the enemies, and they all had these weird rhyming names.
Very Japanese.
Very Japanese. It looks like it could be good. Maybe.
All of the High Live Ian are doing the demo that is out.
Oh right, there is a demo for it too.
I haven't looked at any of it, so
It comes out next week, I think, so we'll know pretty soon.
All right. Next is Elden Ring, the FromSoft game.
Finally, we get something on this.
Yeah.
And I
it's
know
Dark Souls. It's Dark Souls.
Surprise! Well,
It looks more like Dark Souls than Bloodborne or the Sekiro do.
yeah.
So it's
But-
basically just another Dark Souls.
There is they're really pushing the scale of the world this time, and you see it in the trailer where you can like ride a horse and stuff now,
Yeah.
which I'm not actually sure I'm a fan of because
That just means more empty space.
It's open world Dark Souls, yeah.
Because Dark Souls is about creating shortcuts by going through a level and opening the back doors and getting the keys and flippers and making the world more and more interconnected. The more you
Non-Euclidean geometry be damned.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
what that also entails, though, is that you have to think very carefully about your level design. You don't need to do that in open world because you can just make more space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they use that save time for more boss fights or something else that's interesting, I might be okay with it. But the level design is a big selling point of Dark Souls. They feel like 3D Metroid games.
Yeah.
And when you really boil down just the exploration aspects, that's what they feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But if they make it open world, you lose that feel, and that's a big part of the selling point to me. So
Yeah,
I'm a little worried there.
Yeah, I get like the vibes that when we had our discussion earlier about PSO2 not needing to be open world, just to be open world. And I can't help but wonder if that's what's going to happen here, whether they will sell off something that is important to the Dark Souls franchise in order to get that open world stamp.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But FromSoft seems to have been going from strength to strength. So yeah,
Well, they don't go
well,
much outside their wheelhouse.
Everyone
they don't
goes
really
from
stretch
strength
too
to
far.
strength until they get too proud.
Yeah, and that's when the fall comes.
So we'll have to see how it goes.
We'll see. Yeah, like they've
I
got
just-
mounted
I don't-
combat, so maybe you have a couple of boss fights, which that's the kind of the central thing about. But
I really hate mounted combat in general, though.
it's
horrible.
usually jank and horrible. Yes.
Yeah, I intrinsically distrust anything that has to bill itself as open world as a feature, because that means that you think of it as a feature, which means it's not organically necessary to the gameplay. It's something you wanted in there, and that's why I'm more suspicious of it.
The worst scenario would be it's executed okay, and they just build on it until it gets exponentially worse.
Yeah. Whoops! I forgot to change all these slides. Never mind. All
But
right.
yeah, it looks like Dark Souls. We have
It
more
looks like
people
Dark
with
Souls.
funny
The art
heads.
looks
More-
like Dark Souls. The character designs look like Dark Souls. Basically all of the presentation of it looks like Dark Souls.
The story is completely incomprehensible.
So that story's just like the one in Dark Souls. Then
I'm sure there'll be a body video about the lore as soon as the game's out. Just
Yeah.
go
The-
watch it after you beat
the
it.
question is, will it generate the memes?
We can only hope.
There's only one video of Dark Souls memes.
Oh no. Okay, and the final game that's not Dark Pictures because they blathered on for like an hour about that is Tales of Arise. We've got a launch date for that. September
In
10th.
Japan.
In Japan. I mean,
They're
it's Tales.
getting better. They're getting closer and closer with each one now that the Cold Steel series is being properly localized. But yeah,
They're starting earlier and earlier with the hype cycle, is what I'm reading from this.
Yeah.
Because they've been shilling that for eternity now.
Yep. But they've finally put a release date on it.
So, yeah, action combat. I don't know what to make of it yet. I want to put my hands on it before I make a judgment on it. It's such a departure from the last system. Although I will give them the benefit of the doubt, the last system had gotten to a point where it was so busted they needed to go back to the drawing board.
So that might be what they've done. They've just stripped the whole thing out and said, right, let's start from scratch. We shall see. And for the final show that we're talking about, it's a Capcom. We didn't have a whole lot to really show.
Well, it's not so much they had nothing to show as that it was all present in the shows for other,
Yeah. So we got
other presentations.
we got the announcement that they're actually making DLC for Resi 8.
Yeah, if it's anything like the last Resident Evil, it'll be really cheap or free.
Yeah, I get the impression from it that they weren't actually expecting to need DLC for 8.
They did a... Okay.
Oh, I think that they said that it was by popular demand, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So, I guess they saw the sales figures and the fan hype around Resi 8 that they just decided to make some DLC for it.
yeah, let's just,
You mean
let's just
around
give people
Tall
some
Lady
more.
Vampire?
Yeah. We have a little bit more about Monster Hunter Stories 2, Loot getting nergied again. The Elder Dragons are actually rideable in this version, unlike Monster Hunter Stories 1, where they were only rideable in the Japanese version. So no Teostra and no Kushala. But those are the two they show actually rideable.
Talk about turning the West into second-class citizens.
I know, right? Yeah, no Elder Dragons for you. They also announced what the first game update adds, which is the Palamute as a monster, even though it's not a monster. It's a doggo.
I was actually thinking about that the other day. Like, I was thinking about Palamutes and why they aren't monsters, or if they're monsters, or what. Like, I don't understand how they fit in the ecology. And the reason I got to thinking about it was that I didn't understand why Odogo wasn't in Rise, because Odogo is another Japanese-themed monster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just look at his armor, you can see it just drips Japanese off everything.
It does.
And he's not in Rise, and there's no monsters with his skeleton in Rise either, which seemed odd to me.
Yeah, it does,
And
doesn't it? Well,
I
actually,
wondered if it was because Palamutes were in the game, and it would just be too kind of weird to fight a dog while riding a dog.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I suppose you can consider him just like a Toby with no hair, but
Yeah.
I think that he still sort of belongs in the game, but it's like, oh, we don't want to put the bleeding mechanic in because it's too
Yeah,
hard.
that's what I was thinking.
Maybe.
Like,
But that means, like, basically there is one, two, maybe no. But I think there's one place in the game where crouching is necessary
Yeah.
as a
it's like
result of
hole.
removing bleed. Yeah. Because most of the holes you'll crouch automatically, but I think there's one hole in the snowy stage where you've got to crouch manually, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, I guess we've got a crouch button. I forgot about that because bleed isn't in the game, so therefore I never use crouch.
Yeah. That still doesn't make any sense. Just crouch for a few seconds to remove a bleed. Anyway. We have the next update for Monster Hunter Rise, which is a whole bunch of event quests. Mostly starring Almudron.
Why Almudron so popular? That's the impression I've been getting. Actually, long-time Monster Hunter fans have really been wowed by Almudron. They
His
think he's the
armor
coolest
and
thing ever.
all his weapons and stuff look really cool.
Well, I'm not talking about that though. I'm talking about the monster itself.
The monster itself,
is the
I
part
hate.
that they love. But I don't know. Maybe you would love it if you hadn't done it 5 million times in a row.
Maybe. I'd like it the first time
That
around.
universe doesn't exist though. So
Yeah. Any love for Almudron is long gone from me. Stupid ass mud dragon thing.
Whiskers is your favorite boss, though. Why else would you have fought him so many times?
But yeah,
He's
so
a jerk.
it looks like we're going to be in for like giant Almudron rampage or something.
Yeah.
Like a mud monster themed rampage. There's all going to be Barros and Almudrons.
And everyone's just going to be stuck in goo for the entire fight. Enjoy.
Oh,
Goo.
An Almadron and a Wind Serpent Ibushi together.
I hope
Just
you
can't-
liked,
the
I
worst.
hope you liked moving because that's over now.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it while it lasted.
And the final game to talk about, because I skipped all the esports stuff on Capcom's end because they're just rattling about Street Fighter V anyway, was Great Ace Attorney, where they did a bit of a show off of the characters and the mechanics.
This is the older one, right?
Yeah, the
Like,
one that's in the early 1900s.
Yeah, that one.
This is the overly drawn out and almost completely silent tutorial on how the new mechanics work.
Yes. I do admit, I do kind of like the idea behind the Dance of Deduction, because it's just so very stylish. So you've got Herlock Sholmes, not kidding, kind of looks at a crime scene and then he throws up his deductions. And then
Which are not very good, generally speaking.
usually they got holes all through them. So you kind of go through this investigation argument dance. I mean, if someone started throwing roses around in it, you wouldn't be out of place. And you kind of tear apart all the of Sholmes' deductions in order to come to your own. Also, they showed a proper look at Van Zykes, who looks like the big prosecutor, and he looks like they just ripped him out of some concept art from Leighton versus Wright.
I
Did we
thought
ever-
I didn't know who he was, but I thought he must be a reference to some other character who's already in this
He
franchise.
looks like Edgeworth's ancestor.
Yeah, he looks exactly like other characters.
Yeah.
So
But if you
Yeah.
once you finish Leighton versus Wright, it actually shows you some concept art of characters that didn't actually make the cut. And Edgeworth coming to the fantasy world that Leighton and Wright end up in looks pretty much exactly like Van Zykes.
I see.
Even though, like, Leighton and Wright didn't actually change their costumes in the end, but there was this concept art of Phoenix's disguise where he's basically wearing exactly the same blue suit and a domino mask and a cape. And that's it.
I see.
That's it. That's his whole disguise.
So he went to the Sailor Moon school of disguising your identity.
Tuxedo mask. Hell, well, honestly, that wouldn't have worked if Serena wasn't quite so dim.
In fact, that's the reason why I was never interested in watching that series, was because I wanted to throttle Serena. She has something worse than short brain.
She does. Was she that bad in the original? Or was it a purely Western thing that made it just so dim?
Well, I watched the Japanese version of the reboot, and she was definitely that dim in there as well.
Right, so it is a universal thing. It's just as well she had that hyper-intelligent cat following her around, although she probably would have just died in traffic.
It's like the opposite. It's like the companion to a seeing eye dog is her thinking brain cat.
Yes. Stupid meatball head. So, that was E3. There's a whole bunch of other stuff we didn't talk about, but we're not going to because I really don't want to talk about the Borderlands movie.
There's a Borderlands movie.
Yes, actually,
Why?
I should talk about this. Listen to this. I do have the article. We have a full cast, including
Oh, no.
Kate Blanchett as Lilith, Kevin Hart as Roland, Jamie Lee Curtis as Tannis, Jack Black as Claptrap, Edgar Ramirez for Atlas. Who's doing... let's see. Stephen Boyer is Scooter. Do we have a voice actor for... No, but we do not have a Handsome Jack yet.
What about Mr. Torg?
Torg is not listed
Why not?
because apparently they hate us. Besides, there's only one person who can play Torg. And I'm pretty sure he's dead now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you've got this massive, big-name cast for what is inevitably going to be an awful movie.
Well, yes, it is a video game movie.
Yes.
Sort of constitutionally doesn't have any choice about being awful.
Yes. The highest a video game movie can aim for is acceptable
When drunk.
when drunk. Unless, of course, it's Mortal Kombat, in which case you can exceed that. The original one, not the new one that's coming out.
Well, the original Mortal Kombat, I suppose, was like every time it signaled that it was a video game movie, it got worse.
Yes.
Anytime it was just, oh, well, this is a Kung Fu tournament movie, it was okay.
Yeah, but it's a video game movie. Let's be awful. It has transcended to become meme.
I think that Raul Julia's performance in Street Fighter was legendary. He's just reciting Bible verses at the top of his voice.
Very, very loudly, yes. So yeah, you have the Borderlands film, which is coming, and it is doomed to failure. Gearbox, what else did they do? They put the standalone Tiny Tina expansion for Borderlands. It's just its own standalone game now. Apparently they talked about Homeworld 3, but I don't want to spoil myself for that, because Homeworld I really like, and I don't want to be disappointed ahead of time.
You're gonna wait until you're good and hyped before you get your disappointment in.
I want to maintain the happy memories of Homeworld, even if Deserts of Crack was kind of eh. You know, until they ruin it in a blazing, terrible ball of banana-shaped spaceships. Alright. Anything else to talk about for E3?
It sucked and was bad.
It was bad, it was terrible.
Like many years, it was disappointing.
Can we go back to the old hammy years of people actually getting on the stage, talking, and making complete fools of themselves?
Not knowing where to put their hands because they've never been trained to stand on a stage.
Yes. Or at the very least, maybe possibly remembering to shower in a couple of cases. Although the last E3, at least we did get Keanu Reeves turning up drunk, so that was something.
I don't think that would have changed. I think that only enhanced the performance. I think it would have been really bad if he hadn't turned up drunk.
Yeah, you're breathtaking. So yeah.
I presume that when they get these sort of like Hollywood celeb types to come for these things, that they just completely jam the green room full of alcohol.
I swear they do. Because they
Because
almost
they
always
know-
turned up sauced.
They know that it's going to be completely, depressing and cringe watching them try and act like they give a toss sober.
Yeah. So yeah, that was E3. It was a big nothing. There's a couple of little gems in there, but by and large, just eh. I'm just quickly going over the list of stuff that was in the PC show and the what was the other one they had? It was the Guerrilla Collective, which was all the indies. But I'm not seeing anything. Unless you want to talk about Vampire the Masquerade.
No.
No.
Vampire, the new woke edition.
Oh, hang on. Is that a new... That's Anno. Is that Anno, or is that the other series that's in pretending to be Anno and is not Anno?
I don't know.
Let's have a look. It is that other series that is not Anno. Yeah, you've got two game series called Anno now. One is the city building one from Ubisoft, and the other one is some sort of cyberpunk thing. I don't know how this is continuing to happen.
I can't help but wonder if the whatchamacallit, the Vampire the Masquerade game will actually even come out, because every news story about it is that there's been some other disaster and some important piece of the development team has left.
Yes, I'm just waiting for the headline of Dev Studio resorts to cannibalism.
Well, it's basically what all the headlines are.
Basically, but not quite literally yet. But the way they
Like,
go, it's only a matter of time.
They just bleed people because you can't work. You can't have a workplace made up of harpies that are more concerned with finding ways to get the next person to them fired than making a good video game. It's not going to work.
Yes, and among them, Steve writes code.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
All right, let's get out of here then, because that's been a pretty long show.
A depressing one too.
One
Yeah.
day,
Everything about this show was disappointment.
one day we will have a show where it's good news, but not today.
No, there won't.
Where someone
It's-
hasn't completely sailed past their potential and hit the wall next to it.
Yeah, our last
Yeah.
actual pure positive show was Monster Hunter World, if I recall.
It's been a while.
It was a great game.
It was a fantastic game.
Just could do without the load screens.
Incidentally, my brother wants me to play some Monster Hunter World with him this afternoon, so that's going to be interesting to go backwards a step and see how that feels.
Go backwards to forwards a step.
To backwards to forwards, sideways a step. Then we're all crabs here now.
All right. Closing comments go. I'm ready to get out of here.
Hopefully, once the plague ends, we can get some actual video games being produced.
I think that I need to make a Zenny farming kit.
Maybe.
There's an attempt for a Fauci joke coming, but I'm
No.
not going to do it because I'm too tired. Had to cut a tree down. So, all right. Next week, I will endeavor to find news that is happy. We'll see how successful I am. I wouldn't put money on it.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then. Sayonara, bye-bye.